Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 274. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V, as we are here both in the Milwaukee studios. Rare occurrence, 2 weeks in a row.
And on time, 9 p.m. Central Time, on the dot. It's not very often you get both of those, us in the same spot and us on time. It's more than likely if you're off-site that we're not on time.
No, I don't know about that. There's been times I've been sitting right here
I'm not
waiting for you to press a button for us to go live.
I'm not denying that, but I'm saying it's more often than when you're off-site that there's some sort of issue that we have between something or whatever that we're a little late.
Well, speaking of off-site, one conversation piece that we can maybe elaborate on a little bit later, it's not directly and specifically Smashbox, but kind of in that fringe, is the idea that if having some form of nightly or somewhat regular shows throughout the year at some of these bigger events is something that could or should become more of a commonplace, or something that's done more regularly.
Only if you can get good interviews, I think. There's no point in just having someone come on and be like, hey, this is what happened today. And if you don't have an interview, it doesn't feel as valuable to me personally, which is funny because we didn't talk about this at all.
No, well, we really haven't. It's something that I've been thinking about, a way that we could create more value, again, whether it's on Smashbox or the Disc Golf Guy, but a way to create a little bit more value. I know whenever I'm on location and you're back here in the studio, usually for a live event weekend, I ultimately will interview someone, and that pretty much is the meat of the show, and therefore it makes more sense for me really just to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, if you can run the show and do it, I don't care what you do.
But it's something that I've been messing around with. We've done it at the Memorial for a number of years. Keith Murray, Dukes, big shout out to those guys. They've been very gracious in hosting us. If the players are around, that's been a really good place to do it. And we've seen that, have some success throughout the years. Of course, going to the Glass Millen Open every year. More often than not, we've had nightly shows. Those have been at some of the more active places where, again, we're pulling in a number of our players or promoters or course TDs or whoever it might be. I would really love the idea to do that more frequently at more events that we find on the Pro Tour, the National Tour, whatever the case might be. But like you said, I think it's going to come down to, we have all the same problems, finding solid internet, finding, something with good lighting, and then most importantly, is finding where the action is or where players will come join me and then have that conversation. It doesn't have to be the leader of the day, but someone or some people that would be willing to come in and join, and always kind of finding that central location. Some events, it's much easier than others. So it's something to consider, something to toss around out there. It would be kind of above and beyond what we've already talked about for the year, and it's also something. A few years ago, I had a few entities reach out and say, hey, we'd really like to see that happen, and we'd even be interested in sponsoring that type of a segment or of a show. Of course, if I had that kind of support, it would be a lot easier for me to pull that trigger and to go through that kind of work to make it happen. So kind of a random side note to open the show, but very much in line with what we're going to be talking about tonight, the Pro Tour, quite a bit.
We are going to talk a lot about the Pro Tour tonight, and I think that, if you ask anybody that's on our chat board right now, they all want more Smashbox. 4 hours a week just isn't enough.
It's not.
Our single podcast, we really need to spread this out more and share the love with everybody.
And spreading it out is Widespread Porter. Thank you for the super chat here tonight. We appreciate that. So tonight's show, as far as we are under the understanding thus far, if all things go as planned, what we're looking at is having Jeff Spring of the Disc Golf Pro Tour join us here in the next 5 minutes or so. Sure, we were talking about having him anyway. However, there's also another conversation piece that could get added or sprinkled in there today. We also saw an opinion piece written by Steve Dodge that was then posted to Ultra World that naturally raised a few eyebrows, maybe ruffled a few feathers, maybe didn't. Some people very much in line with the piece, some people very much against the piece. Everywhere in between, of course, we'll touch on that a little bit as to the content of that. Then, after we talk to Jeff...
Well, and then to follow up on the Steve Dodge thing, the Pro Tour released a statement basically saying...
those are Steve's opinions, not the Pro Tours.
Yeah, not the Disc Golf Pro Tour at this point. Steve started the tour, but is currently not affiliated with them, and we are happy and want to continue to work with the PDGA.
Yeah, so that was a clarification that was made. Again, we can dive into that a little bit more with Jeff. And then as we wrap up with Jeff, we're going to jump right into hopefully some exciting news and opportunities that are happening with the opening event of the 2020 Pro Tour. And that is Keith Murray, Spinners on the Green, Ashley, Dano, and all the people over there, the entire team of people that make that event happen. So I don't want to give all the credit to Keith, but I think he gets listed as with the TD credits. And so we're going to have Keith Murray join us. I know they're working on some big sponsorship things. They always have new releases, some special limited edition type things going on, all of that. I'm sure he'll get us up to speed. People have been clamoring, understandably. People are excited to get registered for the Memorial Championships. And so I think he's going to give us an update on that. Also, I know right around the corner will be kind of a warm-up event. They run the Shelley Sharp A-tier in the middle. This year it's going to be in the middle of January, and that's a great opportunity to go see the course, see the Vista XL layout. Some changes. I can't spill the beans yet, but there are some changes, some tweaks, and some adjustments. We'll see what he can share with us about those. But all of that will come from Keith Murray tonight as he's going to join us. And a little tease that we can't make too many promises on. I don't know if you want to hold your breath or not. Grab your ponytail holder. We might hear from Chris Clemens. He may or may not headline the after show, actually. He's obviously in the news today talking about the sponsorship agreement / contract.
That's very important distinction.
That he signed with Dynamic Disc. And I think he said he may or may not have a date night tonight. So we'll see if it fits into his schedule that he joins us. And if so, we'd love to hear from him. Probably overdue anyway. So it would be great to hear from him if we can get him on the show here tonight. But I don't know if I'd go, betting a box of discs on him showing up just yet. But the conversation was had. So, and I do want to quickly address, we'll say another major news topic, because we're going to get to Jeff in a moment. Yes, we will discuss what we saw and heard and somewhat know about with Paige Pierce. Of course, she really dominated the headlines yesterday, spilling into today. I guess she said she is stepping aside and moving back from her relationship in a professional sense with Dynamic Disc. So I'm sure that has probably flooded your Facebook feed. I know yesterday I was flipping through Facebook, and literally 2 out of every 3 posts that I was reading was something about Paige Pierce. Lots of speculation. Some people very much in favor and on her side, supportive. Some people not so much, and everywhere in between. We'll get to a few of those details. I had a quick chat with Paige myself at one point. I think we're going to see and hear some exciting things coming from her in the very near future. So good stuff all around. Keeping us busy, as always. As someone says, it doesn't feel like there's ever a slow news day. But I think in just a moment, we're going to be ready. It looks like we see Jeff Spring. I think he just came in off the slopes. That guy's somehow gets to go out and ski and snowboard all the time. And sitting in our Disc Baron digital green room, and now joining us, our Disc Golf Pro Tour Director, Jeff Spring. How are we doing tonight, Jeff?
Hey, fellas. How you doing? I'm well.
Yeah, you are. So you're, of course, we all know now Smuggler's Notch. If you don't, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but everybody sees the beauty of Smuggler's Notch mainly in fall. But you guys have been awarded like greatest resort on the planet 300 times or something like that. What is so beautiful and amazing about Smuggler's Notch in that area right now?
Yeah, I mean, in the winter, it's got a lot of accolades. For the past 8 winters, I've worked as the ski and ride school director up here, and actually the resort's covered in snow. I've already been skiing, got out this past weekend, and got a day. The lifts aren't turning yet, but it's definitely set to go. Day after Thanksgiving, the chairlifts always start running every year. So we're on schedule, ahead of schedule up here. But yeah, I've been mostly inside. I've been working from office, and just getting a lot accomplished and getting ready for 2020. But yeah, it's cold, it's winter. I'm bundled up here. Don't have any of the new DGPT merch yet, but excited to rock some as soon as it comes in.
I'm going to assume once that merch comes in, a box is going to make its way to SmashBoxx, so we can do
a promo. We want to make sure we debut it.
We'll give some away to our patrons, our supporters. I mean, we got that under control. We know that's coming. We don't even have to ask.
Yeah, it's actually the first box is already on its way to you guys.
I mean, SmashBoxx. I mean, come on, it's got to be coming this way. Well, we are excited, and let's lead with that. We saw last week Friday a digital rebrand. I'll start there with the digital component, of course. But a digital rebrand and a new logo and a different look, feel, a little bit different design for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. What went into that?
Yeah, we're really excited to debut that, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. So we're thankful and excited the fans like what we're going with for 2020. But basically, we just wanted a refresh of our logo and of our identity. We've kind of found that the existing logo was a little bit hard to stamp on discs. It had like some minor details in it that were very, kind of difficult to get perfect on stamps. And so we were kind of just trying to simplify the basket and simplify the text as well, going sans serif there. And that was led by our graphic designer, Dustin Giuliano, who did an awesome job. Really proud of him. We worked through it. We may, think about a full rebrand in the future, but right now we love kind of just the emblematic recognition that everybody has for the basket and for the way that the logo is shown up. So we're excited to keep the main thrust of the logo and just kind of hopefully update it, make it a little sleeker, a little cleaner, and hopefully better to reproduce on some brand new merch. And, that's the other thing we're getting excited to, kind of get some new products in for the holidays and kind of update our store on DGPT.com. So,
there it
is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great to see. I really do like the look. I think if you're going a little bit more for the younger, we'll say message board or instant messaging, you might want to go with a Comic Sans, but instead you went to, okay, maybe not.
Okay. We should have brought you in earlier.
Every typographer, it just died a little inside thanks to you.
Yes, they all hate me. No, it looks really good. It does look really clean. And it's funny to think about, and without getting too far off tangent here, it is interesting and funny to think about the details that have to go into any logo or design, whether you're talking embroidery, screen printing, colors, how many screens you're going to need, whether it's going to stamp well on a disc with regard to fine detail, intricate lines. Is there a lot of coverage area? Those are all things that have to be thought about and considered. And of course, that's why we employ the great graphic designers and artists. But it's I think some people really underplay and undervalue all of the considerations that have to go into something like that. And even custom disc stamping, that's something I wasn't even thinking of with the previous logo. So I could see how that is a thing for sure. Now, so you've been really busy. Of course, we saw the schedule release. We've seen the national tour schedule release. We're seeing how people are going to be kind of jetting around this year. Every event that's on the tour this year, we saw last year, if I recall, right? There's no
for the Pro Tour. Two events switched out for the national tour.
And then again, it's already locked in, and I know this was talked about essentially a few months ago, but locked in to be in Charlotte again for the championships, for the final championships, right?
That's correct. Yeah, okay. back at Charlotte. Loved what the club did last year. I mean, well, just a month ago, but I can't wait to be back there and really just setting it ahead of time, letting everybody know what's going on. Staying in the same area as the US DGC. We're only a week after US next year, so everybody's just going to be hanging around the Charlotte area. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and just to echo the accolades for them, they constantly told us like, "Hey, here's our best foot forward on relatively short notice. Wait till you guys come back next year."
Yeah.
And they're really excited to embrace the championship again and to put on a good show for us. And of course, the entire tour wants to put on a good show. So certainly looking forward to all of it. They did a fantastic job. So in your planning right now, here we are. It's middle of November. We're going to talk with Keith in a little while, who's going to be kicking things off at the end of February. What are some of the types
Yep.
of things that are on your plate right now? Like, whether they're obvious or not to others out there, what are some of the types of things that you're working on a daily basis right now?
Working on a lot of stuff every day. I mean, really, we're trying to get to our partnership plan release, which is happening at the end of the week. So we're kind of lining up everything that we need to get there, which is starting with media. Last Friday we announced that we struck a deal with Jomez to cover all the MPO1. But then we're lining up the Silver Series. It's the evolution of the test events, which was exciting, and hopefully we can talk about that. And there it is. Yeah. So definitely excited to kind of embrace, those events a little bit more, and then, just bring more value to them, really, I think, at the same time, trying to develop a platform where it's not just a test event. These events are great in their own accord, and I think the big difference there is just, experience at that highest level, getting those pro fields there, having time to adjust the competition side, building a bigger base of volunteers and staff, and then stepping up to the highest level of media with live. So the Silver Series won't be live, but that's the other part of the puzzle that we're working on right now, is finalizing the media plan, because that informs all of our partnership sales opportunities that we're going to offer to, whether it be companies inside the sport, disc manufacturers, bag production companies, or outside the sport, which we have a whole list, and we're already kind of starting those conversations. So lots of conversations. We're also going to be premiering a couple job openings in the next week or two for some staff that's going to be hopefully working with us either year round or just during the season, and building the budget for 2020, refining that. And then there's another whole list of other things that we could get into, but primarily right now we want to get that media plan, finalized, which, has been going great. And then, get all of our partners on board, which is going to be fun all the way up through January.
Yeah. And now, with regard to the media plan, you said you guys have essentially struck a deal and worked out the details to have Jomez primarily focused on MPO1. There was an RFP that was released. Is that something that people are still eligible to submit, or should they be reaching out directly? What are things that people should be doing if they want to be involved in a media production, role?
Right. Yeah. So the RFP is still out there. We have a media forum online that people can submit if they want to be a part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour media solution for next year. And that's going to stay up all year. If anybody gets closer to an event and says, hey, we want to come and film MPO 3, 4, FPO 2, 3, 4, whatever, or just come on site and create some type of media at the event, that's all going to be good to go. But the key is that they get in touch with us, agree to our media policy, which is, going to be released. And then we're working on that with all the different events too. That's another thing that we're working on, not only with the Silver Series that we just announced, but now we're circling back around and finalizing a lot of the planning with the actual premier events, those 10 events. So we're excited for that. But yeah, in terms of media, we've got MPO1 lockdown right now. We're excited to announce MPO2 soon. FPO plans, kind of our whole media. Like, there's going to be a fun new way to watch Disc Golf Pro Tour next year, and we're excited to announce that. And then, of course, live. So
what's happening
with
live?
We
what
had a
about those
different
live guys?
approach on. We had a different approach on live, but we absolutely, still for post-production and everything, people can submit. But we have a vision, kind of working off of what we've done in the past, and maybe, I'll let you guys lead the way on that, but a vision to kind of take things to the next level. So, that wasn't as much of a request for proposal on our end. That was just, hey, we know what we want to do. I mean, we talked about doing a request for proposal, but just the business strategy didn't really call for it. It kind of would have been fairly wasted time. But that's kind of where we're at.
Well, and to be fair, if anyone wants to submit to go do live, we would love to see others submit for it. And we're not going to claim, of course, we have any monopoly on that aspect, but there's just not a lot of other people that are maybe as dumb as we are that want to attack it. No, maybe not. No, but we're super excited to be talking about how we can do just that. And one of the
So wait, are we spoiling it that we are the live
I mean, it sounds that way, Jeff. Are you asking us to go steady in 2020? Do you have a Letterman's jacket we can wear?
I guess this is kind of like just a sheepish, date proposal
are you,
for you guys, but no, not really.
Slid over the note.
No, I guess
going on that
that's pretty
weekend?
much out of the bag here. That we've struck an agreement. The Disc Golf Pro Tour has struck an agreement with SmashBoxx, and we're contracted them for all premier events, all 11 events. So the 10 Disc Golf Pro Tour events and the Tour Championship. So we're going to be hiring them back on board for 2020, and we're super excited to like build on the experience that we had as a team through the last couple events and say, how can we keep growing this live? What kind of resources do we need to take it to the next level for all the people who love live at home and believe in live, as we do, so.
Well, and thank you.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah,
it is.
Thank you, of course.
And part of that building and that experience as we closed out the year last year, we were running as many as 4 cameras at one time, potentially jumping back and forth with a couple of cards. With some newer equipment and with a little bit of a different structure, there's, like you're saying, the possibilities are endless. And I think we're always going to be constantly refining what is working best for that live experience. Whether it's additional cameras, commercial pieces, filler pieces or background pieces, all of those types of things all feed into that live experience. And we've been at it for 5 years, and clearly there's still ways that we can grow and improve. And that I think is really exciting on our end, is to know that you have your vision, your ideas, and then we kind of all get in a room together and let's find out how we can make the best possible experience and product for everybody. So it is definitely exciting. So let's backtrack just a moment to the Silver Series, and if somebody somehow missed all of the news or the announcements or the details, really just lay it out. What exactly are those events, and how did they become those events?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, the DGPT brought on some test events, and Steve had worked with those events to kind of just get a pipeline going towards developing more Pro Tour events. And at the same time, I'll mention that the PDGA has a pipeline program for events to try to become NT events. So basically what we went through this off season was talking about that test event brand and how is it working? What can we do to make it better? And it became obvious from talking to some of the TDs and some of the events who had been on that test event series that they felt like they could use a little bit more tie-in. And we also felt like, hey, it's got to be a tier where, events can, if they need a year off from the premier event, if they, want to take a step back to more of an A-tier level, but don't want to lose the connection with the tour, and all that investment and all that partnership and, kind of, not trying to take all the wind out of their sails, but say, hey, maybe we want a year off. For instance, when I ran the 2018 Pro Worlds, I wasn't on the tour that year because I was like, I can't really justify trying to run 2 events. I want to make sure Pro Worlds is what it is. And I can't, try to sacrifice. I want to put everything into Pro Worlds, right? So maybe if it was an A tier and not a Pro Tour event, I could have kept the GMC going that year. Maybe not, but maybe some events want to approach, maybe major bids that way. We're involved with some of the best events in the world, I think. I'm proud to say that of all the TDs and the teams that we've, gotten to know over the years through the Pro Tour. So, we want that tier to be not a test event tier, but, basically a sub series. So we went through like a number of different names. Silver Series stuck. Talk to the PDGA, and a big part of this is that we want to work together with the PDGA to try to develop that tier of events that are going to want to take the leap. Kind of elite series venues that our building staff, they have the pipeline program. We have now the Silver Series, or from the test events, and we're hoping that these events, whether they fit better on the NT or the PT, we can kind of interchange and share that information and work together to grow that kind of elite series event. So that's kind of how it evolved. And, a big key was making sure that none of these events fell on NTs or fell on PTs, that we were like able to find, dates where it was in between tour dates, And we worked off of the 8-tier schedule. I mean, we had the remaining, the returning events, which we gave priority. So we talked to a lot of the returning events, said, do you want to return? Let's assess what the event was last year and what the quality was. Let's look at the media. Let's look at your future plans. Then we announced the call for Silver Series events, and we had a lot of applications. We sifted through those, looked at dates, kind of worked off of the dates that were there for 8 tiers after the PDGA released that schedule, and just made something that made sense for this first iteration of the Silver Series. And they're tied in points wise. So
yeah, and that was going to be my follow up: is who do you think this will most benefit with regard to those points? How many points do they earn is the first question, and who will benefit the most? As in, who are we going to see on that Silver Series? Do you think? In terms of the
yeah,
players?
That's a good question.
So how do the points work?
I don't know for sure who will see flocking to the Silver Series, but I have an idea. So to answer your first question, 25% of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Premier events points are going to be awarded to Silver Series. So if you win an event, you get 100 points. If you win a Silver Series, you're going to get 25.
Okay.
And then you just take the math down from there, and you'll probably get a few points if you come in 10th, but you got to come in a top 10 to have anything that's going to be significant at all. Okay. I think we're also working with UDisc to try to reformulate the point structure. Another one of the many tasks that we've got going on for this offseason. But the other catch is that you can only take three events out of the 9. So if you play all 9 Silver Series, you can only take your top 3. Because we don't want this to be a way of really supplementing points. But the main thrust of it is to get regional players or from the clusters around these events that maybe play these events a couple Disc Golf Pro Tour points, and they say, oh, wow, you know what? Maybe I want to go tour. I've got a 3rd place finish at the Silver Series. I actually have some points. Maybe I'll go try to figure this out, because we don't expect the Silver Series fields to be as strong as the Pro Tour fields. And there's going to be room for those regional pros. And you've seen those regional pros kind of spring up. I think Emerson Keith made a great run this year regionally. And, I think that this is just going to allow those regional players maybe even more of an impetus to take that next step further. But in terms of the touring pros, I know that some of these events, some of the top pros go to anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays into like who's going to get into the Tour Championship. Maybe I got to go to a couple Silver Series to make sure I'm buffering those points. It's going to be interesting to see the travel schedules adjust, I think. So
well, and I think you can share it with the world or not, but I feel like if you're going to allow people to take just 3 of those Silver Series events and bring those, we'll say, into their overall yearly profile, that I would assume is really like a Johnny V. Terry clause, because otherwise we would be there, we would dominate that Silver Series, and we would bring ourselves. No, okay, maybe not. No,
more than likely not.
Okay. Well,
I've been to Silver Cup. I cashed at Silver Cup many years ago. So
no, but in all seriousness,
there you go. I'm thinking about maybe I'll get a couple rounds in.
I know,
too.
because
I like this.
We can't ever make the NT or the Pro Tour events or any of them for that matter, because usually we're broadcasting or doing things. These Silver Series are perfect for us.
That's why they had to cap them. Otherwise, you and I mean.
Yeah, you guys are just going to go in. I mean, I think if you win all 10, if you won all 10 Silver Series and there was no cap, it'd be
250 points,
250 points. That's pretty big. So anyway, we didn't want poaching too hard on Silver
that's
Series,
exactly it. No, but you did bring up a great point. Thank you, Bill Sherman, for the super chat. You bring up a great point that a lot of these events, all of these events are great events in their own right. They may or may not be just a notch below already being on the Pro Tour, and then logistically and regionally, they make perfect sense as well. I saw someone like Paul Macbeth say he plans to be in Tallahassee, for instance, and he plans to be at the Throwdown the Mountain. So he clearly isn't. I don't think his main concern is like, I need to scoop up a few more Silver Series points, but they're already good events that work out regionally in his track or his route for the year. So, some of these events might be stacked. Some of them might be not as stacked, but it gives a great opportunity for the players, and like you said, for the tournament directors. Now, just to clarify, it's a minor clarification, but UDisc is or is not likely to be involved at every one of those? Maybe it's
So we announced that Sunday.
It is okay.
But we've contracted the services of UDisc Live for all 20 events.
Holy
so it's
cow.
the biggest commitment that they've ever had, I think, that we've ever made. So we worked through that with them, and UDisc is an amazing tool. UDisc Live is not only amazing for the user experience, like the viewer, to like watch the stats. It's better than anything that you can see on the PGA. You go to PGA.com, try to follow live scoring, and it's not going to be nearly the experience of UDisc Live. But on top of that, it makes tournament directors' jobs incredibly easy. And I know they're working hard to debut a model that's going to be less expensive, but I just want to say, hey, this is an investment, in these events and in UDisc. And, we wanted to make sure that they were going to be at every event that's going to be integrated into our scoring system, and that the fans were going to get to experience it, most importantly. So
now these Silver Series, as far as media coverage, are we going to see Jomez at these? Are they going to be? Are these events going to be on their own to make media coverage? Are they going to be required to have any media coverage?
Yeah, we're working in collaboration with these events.
Okay.
On media coverage. I don't know if any will have Jomez. We have only contracted them for the premier events, and I think these events, in many cases, have experiences with camera crews. I know, like, say, Goat Hill was filmed by Central Coast last year.
I think Terry
I know the Mid America, think, was filmed by GK Pro.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What?
I was gonna say, I know Terry did Tallahassee and I think Silver Cup last year.
Actually, I've for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been at Throwdown the Mountain filming. Last year we did the Open at Tallahassee. I covered that. Silver Cup has been covered by my channel for the last 3 years. So yeah, those are all ones I've been at least involved with over the last few years. Okay.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're gonna see some disc golf guy footage at this stuff. So that's awesome and exciting. And I think GK, and I talked to Gatekeeper, and we're talking to them too. But I know that some of these events they've been at too. So I think it's gonna be like a nice array. I think that's the other thing I thought about, when we were developing this idea, is that it's going to be a great outlet to get more media coverage, kind of spotlighted, at least, like more opportunities on a higher profile for these media teams. And I think it's going to be cool to see. I think it'll be a nice array, and maybe we'll even have MPO2 if like the Pro Tour is able to deliver any post-production, which, we're going to work towards and roll out our media plan, hopefully at some point. But maybe we'll even be able to cover FPO. Like, I know that we want to try to cover some FPO2 cards eventually, but you never know. If there's a lot of media teams, hopefully we can get a lot of cards covered.
Now, that brings up another question, which is, will the Pro Tour assets, trailer, experience, all of those things, will those be rolling to each and every one of the Silver Series stops?
I'm going to underpromise on this one and say no,
Okay.
but I anticipate that being a real possibility at several.
Okay.
So it's not planned to have like the full trailer there, but the plans are still being finalized. And I think when you look at the schedule, I think that there's definitely some good opportunities that we're looking at. And if it lines up, you never know. Maybe we'll have a big chunk of them.
Now, share.
Our relationship will include a branding package at the very least that these events will get to put up and represent the DGPT. And just recently we've definitely committed to having someone at the event. So whether it's a trailer and the full package or a branding package and somebody there to assist, we're gonna have something there. So.
Okay. Now, I know it's something you're working on, and so I don't know how much you're ready to share or not. But if you are, what is kind of the plan or the experience from the trailer, the retail experience? What are some of those things? I mean, we've seen Steve, Miles, this entire crew essentially have a truck, bring a big trailer behind that sets everything up, that kind of does everything, really operates out of that trailer in terms of the Pro Tour mobile side. What exactly are some of your plans?
Right.
Anything you can share with everyone? what you're looking at?
We're not ready to share our final plan, but
Okay.
we will have a mobile setup. I think we're looking at our final solutions right now, and we're going to have a crew on the road. We're going to have a crew that carries assets around, sets up courses, vends at each event. And I think that crew should be more available than ever to stay on the road and like hopefully get to Silver Series, hopefully get to other events. So, yeah, I mean, I think our course asset strategy is going to hopefully be the best yet. We're definitely building and looking at like how can we make these courses look as professional as we can, as beautiful as we can, have the assets interact in a way that doesn't affect competition in a negative way, and then use that setup to bring a lot of value to our partners. Get their branding out there in a way that they're really proud of and proud to be a part of the tour. So that's definitely all going down, and we're excited to like finalize exactly what it is. We'll definitely take people on the journey when we purchase a new trailer and a new tour vehicle. Like that'll definitely be something we share through social media. But yeah, we're pretty excited.
Okay, well, we're gonna start to wrap things up and let you go, but we have to at least touch on earlier today. The previous Pro Tour director and the originator or founder in Steve Dodge, he had an article that he wrote that was released through Ultra World,
like an opinion piece,
an opinion op-ed, I think is the official terminology, right? And he really put out I don't know if I'd call it a plan, but it was a proposed idea or a concept that he released through this article. And to really summarize it, he really said that he feels like the PDGA should halt its support of the national tour and invest more money and resources into something like the Pro Tour and or help them maybe even consolidate.
I mean, I know we can get into semantics later. Yeah, I mean, we'll let Jeff address
anyway,
it.
So that's something that he put out there today. Certainly is one vision idea, but I guess talk about where Steve's coming from your perspective. Like how do you react to that? And what is Steve's relationship with you and the Pro Tour?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we saw the article this morning. Not right away, but I was made aware of it. I did not know that it was gonna drop, and we weren't involved with it. So we did make a statement just to clarify that because we did have a couple questions about it. But yeah, Steve is obviously you guys had him on talking about his board games. Mm-hmm. He's on to new ventures, has a lot of energy, looking to do whatever's next. And, during the transition, we've been working together as needed. But in terms of, kind of looking forward, we're charting our own path. And that was Steve's opinion piece kind of on his own there. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question in generally about, how it interacts with us. That's totally separate from the Pro Tour. I would just like to say that we're strong partners with the PDGA. We're kind of taking it to the next level this year. With some initiatives that we're working on right now in terms of partnership, and I think we are on the same page. With the PDGA, we want to grow together, and I think that the natural progression that both of our organizations see is finding ways to benefit each other and kind of eliminate any potential confusion to folks that are new to the game. I think most people that know disc golf know that there's two tours. One's run by the Pro Tour, one's run by the PDGA, and a lot of people in the game, I think, see the vision of the future of what they could be merged, and I think the PDGA sees that too, and so do we. So we want to work together, sustainably, step by step. We've got a lot of energy and excitement for this year, but we got a lot to prove too. We want to show that we can be a sustainable tour that elevates the sport professionally to the next level. And once we get to those goals, I think anything's possible. And I think the PDGA knows that and believes in us and offers appropriate support. So, we're excited to continue that relationship and take it to the next level. But we want to do it through proving, there's nothing better than the Pro Tour out there. And I think we're in a prime position to do that. Partnerships like the one we just made with the SmashBoxx is going to get us there too. So we're excited.
Yeah, and we really appreciate that. Again, as we're moving into the 5th year, we'll give last year a meh. But the other 3 years before that,
we did a wonderful job.
Well, no, I meant just with how it unfolded. But again, another story. But what I'm getting at, though, is the Pro Tour, and whether it was with us or not last year, the Pro Tour has committed to live broadcasting. That's really the big takeaway, whether it was with us or not for the majority of last year. The concept of live broadcasting, and that I feel like has really, and we're not just saying it because we're involved, but that has really been a significant differentiator. We see a few live events, the glass blown open, and the guys over at DD really firmly believe in it and have supported us. But outside of them, there hasn't been nearly as much of a push from any event that's not the Pro Tour. And
we've seen Worlds and so a couple of European events will go once in a while, depending on what they have.
So for all of that, of course, we thank the Pro Tour division, and that's where we have to step up, and we have to fill those shoes as well to continue to make that experience the best we can.
Yeah, and I think some of the best live broadcasts, like think just about 2018 Pro Worlds when you guys were with us at Smugs. Like that was a amazing broadcast and saw over 11,000 concurrent viewers. Mm-hmm. And like last year at Ledgestone, again, you guys made it work in Northwoods, and obviously the stream split, but we're talking 14, 15,000 live, and those are PDGA efforts. So we encourage the PDGA to want to continue to invest in live, and I think hopefully they do too. From my understanding, like it's certainly a possibility in the future for future years, and we want to be a part of trying to take it to the next level with you guys, as much as we can, kind of innovate and find new ways to get it out there. But I think you can't discount those majors having huge numbers.
Yeah, of course, and as always, there's always the whole post versus live production and where resources are allocated and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of different side conversations that unfold from there, but it has been one of the staples of the Pro Tour. Certainly, like I said, the differentiator has been live at every single event and having it there, and that just shows a real commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, that mainly initiated by Steve and Steve's belief in just that. So to wrap up my other question, would it be fair to say that some of what Steve said in that article makes sense to you, but maybe not right, not here, not now? Would that be a fair statement?
Well, what I'll say is I think something that can make sense to a lot of fans of the sport that Steve touched on, and I think is the main thrust of the piece, is that, together, especially when we're talking about two of the more sizable organizations in the sport that have big followings, what can those organizations do together that takes it to the next level? And I think when you look across the history of sports leagues, there's certainly plenty of examples you see of merging together and growth. Not necessarily, we're still a niche sport, in a lot of ways. And, we might not even be one of the bigger niche sports, but I think regardless, the formula of merging together, collaboration, innovating, like kind of both ways, and then merging, you see growth after it. So I think a lot of that resonates with everybody, and certainly with me, certainly I know with the PDGA and everybody in the sport. So there's a time and a place, and I think, you got to get there one step at a time. I think what I've learned through my experience of like innovating new programs or building courses or events is that you always want to take the big step, but that rarely is the strategy that's going to get you to your goal. You want to take one step at a time, and we want to build that with the PDGA and just see where it goes. You can't just say that's where I want to be and be there. I think we just got to take one step at a time to get there. So
well, and I think like you were saying, there's the proof will be in the pudding at a certain point, if it's undeniable of which direction something needs to go or merge or condense or eliminate or add or whatever the case might be. I think that will become very abundantly clear at some point, and everybody's just going to work hard until we hit that transition point, whatever it is. So very exciting.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for the 2020 season. I mean, you got two races, the NT and the PT points, and I think it's going to be a fun professional season. We're already starting to see some shifts, and I think people are already thinking like, what's 2020 going to bring? It's right around the corner. So.
Well, yeah, and to wrap all of that up, you think of 10 Premier Pro Tour events, 10 Silver Series events, the championship of the Pro Tour. So in theory, there's 21 events right there, 6 national tours, and then the additional majors being mainly world championships and a few international majors. Like, that's a full season. Like, I'm already thinking about the sleep I'm not getting. Like,
that's a lot of work.
That's a full season as a fan, as a player, as a sponsor. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not even filling in with all the other things they have to do, the clinics, the demonstrations, the schools, the course designs, all the other things that our players will do, the media obligations, the fun side games, everything else. We've got a full season ahead. And when you look at the Pro Tour and you think about, in theory, 21 serious events that have Pro Tour branding and ties, that's huge. So final question for the night, maybe. Is there a magic tour number? I just mentioned 21, 6 NTs, so on and so forth. But for you, do you foresee a magic tour number of things structured under one tour and X amount of events? What is X equal here?
Yeah, 52. I'd say one a week.
Wow. Okay.
You think I'm kidding?
That's gutsy.
No, I'm serious. But, I mean, that's a long way. I mean, I'm talking 20 years maybe. What has to happen to get there is so significant. But I'm just looking at the PGA Tour. They have an event per weekend. They don't stop. They keep going. And there's a reason for that. And if we're going to grow anywhere near that level, that's what's going to happen. Now, do the top athletes play every event? No. You see someone like Tiger Woods being very picky with their schedule. They're only starting 10, 11 events a year. Most touring pros on the PGA can play, kind of 20 to 25 events. You see the Rory McIlroys kind of picking that number. But it just shows you like how much more developed it is, obviously. Mm-hmm. They have the FedEx Cup and the point system, and they weight every event. But what has to happen is that events need to become more routine, for players. We see the advent of Disc Golf Strong, more player support systems. Our events need to get predictable, where they come in, they know where they're staying. It's not a problem. They have enough money to have comfortable, housing. They also have a support team on the road that's there to help with their practice routine. They have those services like Disc Golf Strong, people that are helping train them, trainers. They have medical services on site. They have access to, good quality local food, probably, that's curated by events that helps them, focus on their game. So they just show up and they focus on executing. They focus on being prepared. They focus on competing. And then their support system grows to a point where they can go do that week to week, but at the same time, you still see those professionals kind of curating their schedule down to 20, 25 events. So realistically, if we want to have strong fields at every event in the next decade, I don't see it, getting more than 25. Mm-hmm. But once we do, I think then you start looking, okay, yeah, a long-term 20-year vision, there's an event every weekend, and you have a lot more participation, a lot more eyes, a lot more disc golfers, a lot more partners, so on and so forth. But I don't want to limit us. I don't want to say like anything less than 52. The answer is 52.
I mean, we could go more. There are weekday events. There are.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you limiting it to weekends, Jeff? What are you doing here?
You weekend elitist.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to confuse everybody. I want sustainable growth. Like, player fitness, player health is huge. We have to have enough sponsors and cash to support all this too. So, but the vision's there, I think. So,
and it does make perfect sense. I mean, if there are a 52 or more really great options, and people will pick and choose, and of course they'll prioritize. But when it won't hurt us to have all of these great options, I guess, is the long and short of that.
Right.
And
yeah.
When we have
not everybody's playing the John Deere Classic. Some people, most players play the BMW Championship, so on and so forth. So for us, not everybody's going to play every Silver Series, but most people are going to play the MVP Open. So
Awesome. All right. Well, as we let you go, we have also hanging out, almost ready to go, immediately following you, will be the gentleman and the team that kicks off the 2020 Disc Golf Pro Tour. Keith
Or his
Murray.
yearly visit.
yeah, he's here. I know he's got some great things in the works. What do you have to say to Keith as we're going to transition over to bringing him on the show? What do you got? Anything?
I can't wait to come to the Memorial. It's going to be my first time, believe it or not. But can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see the team and help out and just try to elevate the event as much as we can. Tour passes, I just want to plug that because the players need to get them because we're about to hear when the Memorial registration's about to open. So if you want to get your tour pass, there's still time. Get on it. And oh, yeah, 2020 tour cards. They're a hit. They're going fast. People can go buy them online right now.
I got mine. I bought mine already.
Sweet. All right. Well, we appreciate, of course, all the updates, the insights, the clarifications, and we're looking forward to a great year. 2020 just around the corner. This event just around the corner.
DGPT 2020.
Heck yeah. All right, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night. Enjoy some of that snow out there in Vermont, but then get back to work. You got stuff to do. We got a big year ahead.
I know. I got to go answer emails right now.
All right. Have a good night, Jeff.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you. All right. Of course, Jeff Spring out there in Vermont, giving us some great updates. Hopefully that provided some clarity for you guys. The Silver Series is definitely a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and credit, and he's not holding me hostage or anything, but I'm going to credit Mike Barnett. I think that was one of the original concepts or ideas he had in talking to Steve Dodge years ago of saying, hey, let's build this secondary tier. Maybe these events are ramping up momentum. Maybe these events are building to be on the tour. And he was calling it some kind of a secondary tier. His idea wasn't Silver Series. I gave Jeff, full disclosure, a hard time. What do you think when you hear Silver Series, personally? What comes to mind for you?
Old people.
Because?
Silver hair.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean.
You ageist. Gosh, you people. No, my reaction was very similar, but slightly different in that, at least in Wisconsin, and I don't know if this is, I thought this was national, but apparently not, there's some form of official either branding or club that's called the Silver Sneakers.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Really? Okay. So surprisingly, I'm not old enough, but I've seen it, and that's where older people get together and they go walking, whether it's mall walking or they have a program at a YMCA or a fitness club or whatever the case is. Maybe it's from my involvement with park and rec programs. I'm not sure. Hopefully somebody can back me up and say I'm not crazy, but Silver Sneakers is what I've always thought of. It's a club for aging, mature people to walk. And so you and I both had pretty much the same idea, though.
Just
older.
More elderly, yeah. I mean, it's not.
Well, clearly the Silver Series isn't this year, but anyway, those were some of the thoughts that I had. But I love that they went with it. It sounds great. And with all of those being A tiers, I want to say you're all but guaranteed a darn good event. I mean, they've been vetted, as they said, application process, really exciting to see some of those. And an event like the Silver Cup here in Wisconsin, which is about an hour and a half north of where Johnny and I are right now, that's an event that's now this year will be its 20th consecutive year running. We've seen it literally from day one as that's continued to grow and build. That was on the Disc Golf Pro Tour in
first year.
2016, and it was one of the initial stops. And again, this really just points to the process, which is there were a few struggles or challenges in terms of what was expected of being on the Pro Tour for that year. And now here we are a couple years later. Jim Van Lannen is the tournament director's name. Yes, the father of Alyssa Van Lannen. He now has some new goals and new bars and new specific items that he needs to hit. And we'll see how he shakes out on the Silver Series. So it's great to kind of have, I don't want to just say that second chance, but to know exactly what you're working towards to that end goal. So very exciting to see. All right, I believe we got Keith Murray just about ready. Let me double check. Johnny, did you have something else you want to talk about or fill time with until I double check that?
Well, I just kind of wanted to address, we have a bunch of people on the board asking how come Paige Pierce isn't on the show today. after the major announcement of her and Dynamic Discs going separate ways. And we had actually talked to Paige and just said, she volunteered to come on.
Yeah.
And we just said, you know what? Let's wait until you're ready to make an announcement. To have somebody come on just to say how reasons for leaving or whether or not what we'd actually get out of her, it didn't feel like it would have been meaty enough to me. I feel like we need, that feels very negative on my perspective, possibly, on why you would just be separating from a company and without being able to tell us why you are joining a new company.
Yeah, where you're going, what you're doing.
It just doesn't feel like the whole story. So we are going to wait until she's ready to make her announcement and probably have her on in the next week or two.
Yeah, I am thinking that we will hear from her as early as next week. That would be awesome. She has very much committed and said that she'd love to answer questions. And even, you know, I think back to a year ago when someone like Paul Macbeth made a big switch, and there was this notion of, well, what are some of the details? What are some of the tough questions? What is really happening here? And I feel like Paige is in that kind of in that realm where she feels like, yeah, people are looking to me for some legitimate answers, and she's going to be probably pretty forthcoming with whatever she's got going on. So
I'm going to hit her with some hard questions.
Yeah, you will.
We talk to her next.
Big jerk. All right. It sounds like we're getting Keith ready here in just a few moments. I see him getting set up in Arizona. He was telling me yesterday, well, you know, there's a cold front coming through. It's going to be like in the 60s.
That's because he's lost any semblance that he used to have of a Midwesterner.
Yeah, living out in Detroit area.
He used to be kind of manly and, you know, and
tough guy.
Now, without any further ado, you have this.
Come
Keith
on,
Murray.
Hey, buddy, how you do? Arizona, I was saying you were complaining about 60s coming through. You okay?
Yeah, it's
Are you
chilly
okay?
out here. I mean, that's the high. That means it's lows in the 40s.
Okay. I guess I wasn't realizing quite that, but we'll need a Disc Golf Pro Tour sweatshirt or maybe a Spinners on the Green sweatshirt to keep you all bundled up, buddy.
Yeah, but at least the Memorial Dry fit for now. That's gonna do the trick.
So
it hasn't dropped too much just yet, but it's going to be overnight.
So we just talked to Jeff. And there's just a ton of excitement that, of course, surrounds the Pro Tour. We see a little bit of a rebranding. Of course, Jeff taking over in the later part of a few months ago, later part of 2019. And then here you are with one of the larger, most established events in all of PDGA history. It's been, of course, on the national tour. It's been kicking off the Pro Tour. You've got the Memorial Championships presented by Discraft right around the corner, a couple months from now. You ready?
Yeah. Here we go again.
You sound so enthused.
Come on.
Oh no, I mean it's just it's amazing how quick the year flies by anymore. You know, I feel like we just wrapped up. Really, you know, like it was just the final day, and it was amazing, and such great crowds, and gorgeous. And then I blink, and it's, oh my God, is it time to open up registration again? Are you kidding me?
All right,
so,
well
yeah,
let's go right to that registration. People are clamoring. They're excited. Some events have opened up for for some of the other big A tiers and events throughout the country. Where's registration? How does that unfold for you this year? It's complicated usually, but how does it unfold?
Yeah, so basically, as soon as Vegas opened, we started getting the calls and emails, and appreciate everyone. Thanks for hitting us up, everybody. So now we're going to go ahead and make the official announcement. Since, like Jeff had mentioned at the end there, the tour passes are on sale. We wanted to get that going with those cats, give a little time there. And so we're going to open up registration on December 6th. That's a Friday. So Friday, December 6th. It's the first Friday in December. And that one is going to be for touring pros and our international players on the pro tour side. So touring pros on both the MPO and FPO, as well as any international players. We get a ton of international folks come out, so we get a waiver to get those guys in right away, since they're going to have to really put up a good chunk of cash to get over here.
Yeah.
Across the pond to come visit us. Ton of folks out in Estonia. I always give a shout out to my good friend Tommy Marcus over there. He does a bunch of events. He's a discraft guy. He's an awesome cat. And I think this is the second year in a row he's even bringing a volunteer from over there. So that's super awesome. So that's December 6th. And then every week is when, and 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So 7 p.m. local time here is when we'll open. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. So December 6th. Then we go to 1,000 plus rated. That's on the 13th of December. We hit up our 970 rated pros. That's going to be on 12/27. Or no, I'm sorry, 970s on 12/20. They added a new level this year. They have a 940 tier level. That's going to be 12/27, so right after Christmas. And then on January 3rd, 2020, that's when it'll open up to anybody 900 and above. But I doubt there's going to be any spots in 2020.
Usually by that time, by that, all those offerings.
We'll have a wait list open and everything like that. So,
okay.
But as that being said, let me go. That's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour side. Mm-hmm. So, of course, there's still the A tier running concurrently for the pros that are 40 and above, as well as the amateurs. That will go live December 6th, that same Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain. But that is just free for all. So get in as quickly as possible. Don't forget, you have to be 2020 PDJ current to even register. So that's the one thing you want to get done for sure before 12/6. I couldn't tell you how many stories of folks that missed getting in, just taking the time to renew, and by the time they finish their transaction on Disc Golf Scene, they missed out.
Yeah, I will echo that. Go get registered. If you register tonight or today or in the next 5 minutes or anytime in the next 2 weeks, whatever the case is, register for the PDGA. Get renewed now. It just takes you a few moments so that when you're in that mad rush of making sure you can find your spot in an event like the Memorial or any other one that has a mad rush to it, it automatically, you don't get hung up on that part of the process. If it's maybe a little bit less intensive event, you could renew while you're signing up for the tournament usually. But in this case, get renewed ahead of time. It'll speed things up, make your server experience faster than the next guy's, whatever it is. Make sure you're ready to go. And another quick shout out. I know I've talked to Seifert and a few other gentlemen that I met and experienced the PCS Open with in Norway, and they echoed exactly what you were saying. They're coming here. They're going to participate in Vegas, and then they want to be here for the Memorial and make that a little bit of a swing. And coming from a place like Norway in the wintertime, sounds like just an amazing couple of weeks and a good way to do it. So it's great to see a couple of those guys will be able to get signed up and secure their spots. Now let's talk.
Typically over there, too, I mean, the one thing you got to remember also is that a lot of European folks just don't have the opportunities to get their ratings up. So are we going to have them hang out until the 940, 12/27 and hope? I mean, again, this has become quite a spot to kind of kick off. And, yeah, we get a lot of international folks. I want to say we had over 24 total last year with, I want to say 17 of them were from Estonia. So a good chunk there. And then, of course, we have our Germans. We have, of course, our Finns, just like our women's, our FPO champ, our first European champion, Alina. So, yeah, it's awesome. Definitely, we love our international folks. We want to make sure they get in here.
Yeah, well, now let's perfectly segue that right over to the format. Last year we saw a slightly different format in terms of how the courses were played, the days that they got played. Break down what exactly your plan is here for 2020.
Yes, we're going to mimic 2019. Everything worked out great. The players had a great response to going not only back to a Sunday finish, but doing the format of Fountain, Vista. So they played Thursday, Friday at Fountain, Saturday, Sunday at Vista. And so, yeah, it was a great kind of spread. It really allowed the focus, and they could really kind of get revenge on that course right away rather than changing up the mindset for the next day. So, yeah, I think that was a great turnaround. And by going to Sunday, man, the crowds out there were amazing. We had amazing, way more volunteers than we've ever had out for a weekend. And I think it's just going to keep on getting bigger and better. More and more folks coming out to watch, as well as more and more folks coming out to help, which always makes the event better.
Now, I think it's fair to say it's always a catch-22 when we talk about all those folks in those crowds. And it's fair to say that with all of those people brings in a little bit more challenge for crowd control, for safety of players, for safety of patrons that maybe aren't even spectating. You guys have taken that component very seriously in terms of, what you're doing at this event. Kind of break down some of the measures or some of the steps you're taking to continue to safeguard people as best as you can.
Yeah, for sure. Safety's always been a big concern. I mean, not only, like you said, do we have big crowds coming out to watch, but there's also, it's Scottsdale in March, spring training. There's a lot of folks out there just enjoying the beautiful weather. So many snowbirds from all over the country and world come to town just to soak in the rays. So last year we had, we had crowd control on the top 3 cards with at least 6 people on each, with 8 or 10 on the first card, as well as the city of Scottsdale worked closely with us to close off some of the sidewalks, just kind of show some little sidewalk closed horses out there, and then divert traffic a little bit, and that worked out amazing. But as it keeps growing, we're just going to need more of that. And so actually this year we signed an agreement with the city of Scottsdale, working even closer with them on just the course in general, but also the big events, because we look at the Shelley Sharp Memorial as becoming a good size event as well in January, and we see that being the test run for anything memorial out there in Scottsdale. And so the same thing when it comes to crowds. We hope to kind of test run crowd control layouts and almost certain areas where we queue folks. Because not only is it safety, but you want to give them a good viewing opportunity as well as keep them out of the player's way, because it's something that you don't want somebody to accidentally cross a fairway. And so, not even the fact of getting hit, but maybe they just throw a player off, then I don't hear the end of that for that evening.
No, again, I think anytime we talk about galleries, there's always that catch-22. We want the biggest galleries. We want the most people enjoying it. We want those people on site. But inherently, there is a number of concerns, like you just said, not only safety, but then also the player's experience of maintaining that gallery so that they're not in any interference or any disruption to the actual action as well. And that's sometimes can be tough as no matter how you look at it. So. Well, it's good to know that you guys continue to think about those things, because as the sport grows, those I would chalk up as legitimate growing pains of things that we have to worry about getting bigger. And
we're lucky enough to deal with a city that, they put on the biggest PGA Tour event, and so we are, a much, much smaller scale, thank goodness, compared to the Waste Management Open in February. That thing gets 250,000 people on the Saturday. That's just one day, 250,000 golf fans roll through. And then on Super Bowl Sunday, they'll have 150, and it feels like a light crowd out there. It's amazing. So, yeah, it's certainly something to where they see the madness of that and realize, okay, we have a much smaller situation, but at the same time, it's kind of that same mindset. How can we give these folks to come out a great viewing opportunity while keeping them safe and, getting them either introduced to disc golf or just out be enjoying their favorite sport, because we get a lot of folks that come to town just to watch. It's just such a great time. They want to watch some disc golf at the Memorial. They want to go check out a couple spring training games. So, yeah, we want to encourage more and more folks to come out and watch, and we want to make them feel, secure that they're going to be in the best spots to see the best players, shoot the best shots.
Now, I apologize if I spaced out for a moment, but on the amateur side, the non-pro tour side, what is the format and the days of play? Is it your 3 days and then?
Yep. So they'll play that Vista, Fountain, essentially. So the AMs wrap up at Fountain. And then we do the AM award ceremony on Saturday night before the players' party, or actually kind of like kick off the players' party. And that was awesome. We had so many folks join us. We gave away 72 raffle tickets just for like the AM award attendees alone. And that was huge. So, yeah, AMs will be playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That way they can come out and enjoy the action on Sunday, because then it's going to be the top, the cash line for make the cut on Sunday for the pro.
Okay, so yeah, just a cut to the cash line on Sundays, for Sundays. Now, what are some of the nightly activities that you guys have in store? I know you just talked about a party, but what are some of the typical nightly activities that that people either can participate in, or are they finding some of that Old Town Scottsdale entertainment on their own? I've heard some people.
Yeah, I mean, usually there's something going on all over the place. I mean, generally there's going to be a night golf one of the nights, glow golf out there. There's basically just folks hanging out at Duke's 24/7. You know, I mean, that's really the place to be, especially since we get everything back for the finale and the weekend. You know, folks just kind of gather there, and that's just a hot spot, at least for the jumping point. You know, and then maybe up down to Scottsdale, Old Town, maybe even venture north, or you head down south to ASU. That's always a good time down there.
I've heard.
It was 20 years ago. But yeah, definitely. There's always something going on, and then you got players party at Duke's, and then I'm sure we're gonna have more and more events. We usually have a couple player, meet and greets at Spinners on the Green during the week, but that's always fun. And we can even, mix up with different manufacturers. Discraft's really cool in that regard, that if we do some at the shop, even if it's somebody else, they're really cool. But yeah, I think it's going to be, awesome week indeed. Okay. Can't believe it. Yeah, here we go. Technically, just in case folks weren't sure, if they hadn't seen the tour calendar, it's the 27th of February starts the competition, and then we wrap up on Sunday, March 1st. So we're always that first weekend of March. That's kind of where we're locked into with Fountain Hills, and that kind of dictates the calendar. So that's why it's basically more days and leap year. So
I was just going to say, we have a leap year.
Yeah, we have a leap year this
year. An extra day in February for you guys.
Heck yeah.
This is all fine and dandy. But what everybody wants to know is, in the last year you came on, you talked about some course changes. Everybody wants to know about course changes, because having two, at this point, iconic courses that everybody knows every hole to before you even walk up to it, what are we going to see that's different this year on the courses?
Well, there was great feedback on the inclusion of the new 18. That was really well received. And then really it comes down to, a lot of them are going to be some safety tweaks, really, or not so much safety tweaks, but just, maybe some more placement kind of positioning. So we're working with the city, as well as Dano's got some ideas that he's kicking around and starting to kind of think about and implement a little bit more. And so we're working on a couple different, I should say he's working on a couple different ideas. I leave all the core stuff to Dano. That's his domain. And so I trust him. He's played more courses than anybody I've ever known. And he's played in more states than anybody I've ever known. I mean, so when it comes to course, he has a very keen eye for that. So
and for those who don't know, you're referencing Dan Ginley, PDGA Hall of Famer. You and I and so many of us always just refer him to as Dano, but yeah, we're talking about Dan Ginley, the PDGA Hall of Famer, one of the first ever touring professionals in the entire sport of disc golf. So
that's correct. Him and Steve Valencia. Yeah. That is correct. So yeah, so it's really, I guess, sometimes taken for granted here that we do have his wealth of knowledge to kind of draw on. So he's kind of talking to players, getting some feedback. Again, I wouldn't say necessarily super dramatic, but certainly things that might make you rethink a hole or two here or there.
Okay. Now, in terms of another schedule or strategic component, we see this year that the Las Vegas Challenge is not going to be opening up the national tour. Their registration is open. It's doing quite well. Plenty of people getting signed up for it. But one of the considerations and pieces of feedback that you've taken to heart throughout the years is pushing back the beginning of the Memorial by that day, so that when the Vegas event ends on Sunday, now you're not starting things up officially until Thursday. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there's a question of, do you see things changing much this year? Whether it's the Vegas participation or some people that used to skip one and attend the other to prep or anything like that. Do you foresee any of those changes, or will they even be noticeable because we have so many people dying to play in both?
Well, I mean, for the most part, he didn't change his format. Right?
Well, just that he's not a national tour opener this year is really all I'm saying.
That's not going to matter. I mean, if
Sure.
you know, if you ever been to a Jeff Jaqua event, he could call it a C tier, and he's
Sure.
going to sell it out at $500 a person. I mean, this guy, you know, I mean, he's amazing. I mean, and what he does, I mean, it makes me tired, and I know what I do on this end, and geez, oh Pete's that guy. So yeah, really, I don't think that's going to affect any draw. He's even when we talked about, you know, before we went Disc Golf Pro Tour, the first conversation was let's do back-to-back NTs. You know, I mean, why not? We're there. There's certainly no reason. The players would love it, you know. And then that was something that kind of got poo-pooed by others. And then, so next thing you know, it was kind of like, okay, let's go ahead and we were making the decision to move to the Disc Golf Pro Tour from the NT schedule. And certainly not like it would, you know, once again, I felt like it wasn't going to necessarily hurt us. Just like I don't think it's going to hurt Vegas at all by going from NT back to an A. There's, you know, a lot of things that you have to do for certain tiers, and sometimes they're just not, you know,
sure. No, I think it makes perfect sense. I don't think we're gonna see. I think you're gonna see ultimately Vegas sell out. You're gonna see the Memorial sell out. You know, whether or not it's a ton of crossover or some crossover from one to another. But I think the biggest takeaway,
because we did that finish on Sunday this year, and trust me, they did love it. That they didn't have to race back from Vegas, you know. But again, like you said, I've seen as people have gotten older, you know, they're going to skip one or the other. And a lot of times as they get older, they skip Jeff's. But, you know, again, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a wait list, and it's always going to get somebody else in.
That and,
you know,
if you speak of, if you're getting a little bit older and you're not always up for it, maybe a weekend in Vegas to kick off your year, I can tell you from experience, might not always be the best way to, you know, kick off a thriving year. I mean, he may argue otherwise, but I've learned.
I mean, it's, you know, it was fun back in the day, but I can't run like that anymore, man. You know, I mean, I spent a week there one time, and I mean, I came home thinner, but not just in body weight, just like thinner. You know, thinned out. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, easy place, love it, but yeah, no, I think you know, that extra day certainly was appreciated by the players this year, and we don't see any reason, because one of the reasons that we went back was more volunteers, and sure enough, man, they were flocking out there on Sunday.
Yeah, good, and that's I think the biggest takeaway here is listening to the players, listening that turnaround was almost just too quick to go from 4 days in Vegas to knowing you had to play 4 days, because at one point I think they were playing 8 rounds of golf on these courses in a matter of like 11 days. And, you know, that one extra day did actually mean the world to them for travel and for everything else and recouping. So, all right. So one of the many things the Memorial is famous for is the relationship and the support from Discraft, and then the ties to a new release, a special disc, a new release and a special disc, whatever the case might be. Insane Players Pack.
We saw the Disco Buzzes. Was that 2 years ago, or was that last year?
No, I think you're. Oh, the Disco Ball Buzz. That was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago. God.
I know it feels like last year. I still have them like in a box here, and I don't know.
Midnight Nukes. If we really want to date ourselves to 10 years ago,
the 10-year Buzz was released at the Memorial.
Yeah. So.
2006 Surge. That was the first Surges were brought out at the Memorial. Those red guys.
Oh yeah, I might have a box of those.
We've had some good ones. We've had some really good ones. Even in late, one of my absolute faves. They did these Z Flex Glow Roaches for us in 2016. That I'm down to like my last 2, so I was almost thinking about hitting them up for some more of those. They're amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing.
All right, so this year, what's in the works? Can you spill it already? I hope you can.
You know what? There's really not so much. I mean, now this I can comment on, because now this is a huge collaboration with this amazing artist out of Kingman, Arizona, Mike Barnard. I'm sure you've seen his work other places. He's been doing all kinds of amazing stuff. He's been doing work for Discraft on he's got a whole new series of discs that he's been releasing online. this guy blows me away. And if it looks kind of familiar, he's got a history with Tops and Garbage Pail Kids. And so
I was just going to say, it looks like a Garbage Pail Kid.
Yep.
Right? And so I've been calling him Cactus Dude. And, until I come up with a better name, he has been super awesome. This guy is an amazing cat to work with. And he wound up reaching out to us, and I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, we're super excited to be working with him. Those are going to be released on buzzes. We're going to do limited edition buzzes with the Cactus Dude on there. Those are going to be available starting, where's that magic date in my page of notes here? Oh, Cyber Monday, which is December 2nd, for folks that don't know. So Cyber Monday is December 2nd. They'll be available on spinnersonthegreen.com. It also has memorialdiscgolfstore.com right on the design. That's a new page we got going that we're going to be starting to work out. And the first 25, so basically it's going to be a pre-order starting Cyber Monday. And the first 25 pre-orders are going to get an autographed version of this amazing Cactus Buzz. So that's going to be on there. Now, you can't order more, of course. Feel free. Order 5, order 10. But if you're one of the first 25 orders, you're only going to get one autographed one of those. But that'll be super awesome. I'm super stoked for that. He's also got some other ideas in the works that he's getting going for us. And, yeah, really excited to be working with that cat.
Yeah,
Have you seen these? He did these freaking full foil buzzes with the Star Wars. We got these on the website, man. They're freaking crazy. The lightning on the full foil.
That's
like,
that is pretty awesome.
Jeez, Pete. But yeah, dude, those things are awesome. This guy, he's super cool. And came by Spinners on the Green over Labor Day weekend. Him and his wife kind of did a little staycation. Kingman's about an hour and a half from here, give or take. Yeah, super cool cat. And chatted for a while, kind of showed him some of the artwork we've done in the past, gave him some old memorial discs to kind of get him going, and he is just super stoked into disc golf. It's his favorite thing to create on now. So yeah.
I've reached out to him a few months ago, and we've had some great conversation. If it's really amazing, super color or full color, crazy awesome artwork, it likely has come from him. He's commissioned with a lot of different clubs, organizations, individuals, whatever it might be. He does just incredible work. It's awesome to see. Yeah. So
yeah, and he's essentially us. I mean, if you follow him on Instagram, it's all Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. He's an 80s, 90s, what we call the Jedi generation. Kind of born in that 77 to 84 range. And I tell you what, man, it blows me away. So yeah, that was super exciting. Super excited to get working with him.
Yeah, and he's a number of posts I've seen from him throughout the years is he'll has taken pictures or will visit famous movie spots where something that's taken place in a movie, and then he'll be at that exact location. So he's got a very strong connection to movies. You've seen him. I've seen him do a lot of Back to the Future stuff. I mean, he does really anything. But if you're in that 40-ish age range, as you just mentioned, Keith, a lot of the artwork that he does is going to be right up your alley and very recognizable for sure. So good stuff.
Yeah, more than likely, if everything works out, which it seems like it should, he should be out there all week. Oh. And so my goal is to not, I'm going to try to limit myself to 6 pieces, because if he's got this stuff, not only on disc, but on prints and stuff like that, I'm going to go nuts. I like my art. I got the Cam Todd rocking behind me, I'm a big fan of art in general. And so, yeah, if I get some more stuff of his to put on the walls, I'll be super stoked.
And he is not a hardcore disc golfer. We'll move off of him in a moment, but he's not a hardcore disc golfer.
He likes it. Mm-hmm. He's not, he'll say he is not, but yeah, he came out, played Vista, he is getting more into it. I gave him a heat with a memorial stamp on it, and I think that will certainly improve his game to where, yeah, he's going to be super hooked, because now he's certainly trying to get out more, it seems like. But yeah, it's art first. He likes the medium, but he loves the community, camaraderie. He's a super chill cat. So yeah.
Just tell him to stay off of Facebook and the message boards then. No, I'm just kidding. They don't want to chase him away. All right, so the last thing we're going to touch on, I think we've covered most of the memorial stuff that's necessary. But before that, you did mention that there's kind of a warm-up event of sorts. We've seen this Shelly Sharp A tier that traditionally was in December to close out the year. Now it's transitioned into January. And
actually, it was October.
October. Okay, sorry.
You see it October. And really, I'm not sure if it was much more than just that's when it wound up for a little bit. I don't necessarily if it was anniversary-wise. But, yeah, I moved it to January. If you remember, we used to have the Fountain Hills Thrills back in the day.
Yep.
And that used to be a decent A tier. And near the end of it, it was just like, okay, let's throw it up in Memorial layout. And that's it. You battle, you know. And we had some good ones out there. That's when I remember the first time we tested out playing regular Fountain 16 is what now is Memorial 18. And in the final round, Nico hits an ace.
To tie it up, yep.
Yeah, Yulia hit a death putt to tie, go to a playoff and then winds up taking the playoff win from Ulibarri. So definitely, once that kind of made its exit and never kind of got back going, I saw this kind of need for, and especially with us moving back to Scottsdale with the final, I saw this need to bring something back as a warm-up. And next thing you know, when Felberg was living here, the Next Gen Tour was doing I want to say one of their regionals at Vista, like what would normally be the Shelly or right around there, and October was just packed. And I'm like, you know what? This gives me a perfect excuse to suspend it this year, and we'll kick off. So, yeah, it must have been 2 years ago that we kicked off January. And so the beginning of the year with the Shelly. And so, yeah, now the last two is just kind of happened to be the first A tier of the season is where the dates fell. So this in 2020, it's going to be January 10th, 11th, and 12th. And that one, I'm looking for registration to open on that probably the week after the Memorial. I know it's sooner, but it's not as many people. It is just the Vista XL layout with any changes that are going to be made. So if you do want to get a sneak peek at the Memorial Championship, maybe get a leg up on the competition, then you'll definitely want to come play the Vista del Camino Vista XL layout come January. And I know I've already had Max Nichols reach out and a few other guys. So it's going to be a pretty strong field again this year, I think, for the warm-up.
All right. Well, I checked my calendar per your request, and I might be available. So if we need to talk about that A tier, getting a little extra DG guy coverage, I would certainly love to discuss those possibilities with you.
I love the sound of that, and you always have a free place to stay, so that'll save one of the expenses right there.
Appreciate it. All right, so anything before we let you go tonight? Somebody wanted to know if you're missing Detroit weather and or Michigan golf. Yay or nay on that?
The golf, for sure. I mean, the amount of courses that we had up in those woods is so amazing. And then even when I went back home last summer, unfortunately I didn't get back this summer, played one of the new ones in Washtenaw. It was a 36 hole that played like an 18. It was just so well set up, and the flow was amazing. So, yeah, shout out to Washtenaw County Parks there and the WC Glowcats. I mean, I got a killer thrasher from those guys because I went to a women's tournament part of the tour series that they do in the Midwest. Yep. So, yeah, definitely such a great golf community there. I miss the golf. I don't miss the weather. They got hit by the nor'easter. It was like 39 with 4 inches of snow a week and a half ago or something. And, yeah, I don't miss that. I mean, we were above normal up until today, so it was like 85 degrees yesterday. I was loving life. Now we bundled up tomorrow, and it'll be like 62. So, yes, no, I don't miss the weather. Yes, I miss the golf. That's for sure.
All right. Any final parting shots besides you nailing down those dates again? December
6th. I mean, the great way to remember, I suppose, is this week. So basically, we'll be running Cyber Week deals on Spinners on the Green all week long, starting with the pre-release for the Memorial Championship on 12/2, and then finishing with the Memorial Championship registration opening up on 12/6. It's kind of how I wound up shaking out. I was like, well, you know what? Let's just do a whole week of deals, and that way it'll just keep reminding folks, Memorial Championship, Memorial Championship, Memorial Championship. So, yeah, we're pretty excited. I can't wait to get this bad boy going again. Once again, discgolfscene.com is where we'll be rocking out registration. Pete and that crew over there, absolutely amazing. So look for that registration to be up, or the page to be up here in the next few days. But, yeah, 12/6 for everybody on the MP40 and AM side, touring pros, and international players on the Disc Golf Pro Tour side. So super excited about that announcement for you guys tonight as well. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
Wouldn't
Thank you.
be the same without you. And yes, of course, like we talked about before, and like you mentioned at the beginning, definitely more live during there. Definitely welcome to hook you up. So Dukes is always happy to have you.
All right. Well, oh, excuse me. I was just
getting all choked up.
I was
here.
choking up
there, man.
We miss Dukes. Dukes, we're a big fan. The salads there. If you haven't had them, please go sample.
That's why I traveled to Arizona for the salads. So definitely get one. All right, pal. As always, we appreciate the insight, the details about the registration. I know people are just chomping at the bit, waiting to get registered and get signed up for the Pro Tour. We're excited to kick off the 2020 Pro Tour. We're excited to be in Arizona for the weather. I'm glad to preview it ahead of time. Everything is coming up roses for us. We appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. Definitely. Thanks for everything you guys do as well. Man, we wouldn't be here without you.
Our
Literally,
pleasure.
I guess, right now, right? I mean,
well, according to Skype, I don't know. All right. Have a good night, Keith. We appreciate it.
So much, guys. We'll see y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
And, of course, we hope that Keith finds a way not to freeze to death in that 64-degree weather tomorrow.
We're going to hit a heat wave this week. We're going to get to be like upper 50s or mid 50s in the next week here in Wisconsin. And I'm just counting down the days to going down to Florida, so where it'll be.
When are you going again?
I'm leaving Thanksgiving morning.
Okay, yeah.
And I will be back on Wednesday. So the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we might have to push that off to Wednesday. We'll see.
All right, we'll make something or other work. And then also speaking, this isn't too much of a plug considering it's already full, but I'm super excited to be hosting the Cold Turkey 14 along with my service and hospitality manager, Tom McManus. He's going to be there with the assist along with RPM Disc, who is the title sponsor. Cold Turkey 14, that takes place not this Saturday, but next. As kind of a note to where we are in disc golf, I received a little bit of frustration that the event had sold out. I put up 72 spots, of course, doing foursomes on all 18 holes. It's one of the shorter days of the year, and I really just didn't feel like trying to challenge the sun. We have no idea what the weather will be like. I didn't want to challenge the daylight during that event. But thankfully, there's been a number of people that did not get into the event, and they have some very creative ideas about how I could, in fact, make room for them.
Well, Terry, have you ever heard of this thing called a ghost hole?
Oh, those are my favorite. That'll never effing do. Yep. Okay. Go on.
Let me sell you on fivesomes.
Oh, fivesomes. I know I'm getting older.
Okay, no, all right, fine. Fivesomes are out. Have I ever told you how there's 2 courses in that area? You could be running 2 concurrent courses.
Oh, that would be awfully easy for me to do. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. Oh, there's another idea. Even if one is considerably longer and tougher, and you're not going to probably get 2 rounds of golf in if you have to play one of those for the day and you're fighting daylight and you need to get lunch. But yeah, okay. Any other bright ideas?
I'm sure there's plenty. No, everybody, don't bother Terry. The event is full. If you didn't get in, you had plenty of time. It didn't fill up in minutes. It filled up in weeks.
Like 3 weeks. Yeah.
So I no complaints. You have no one to blame but yourself.
I am flattered that people want to play, and I thank you to anyone that suggested that there should be more spots or that I should be running multiple days. I do appreciate everyone else telling me how to run a well-run tournament, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. And I as politely as possible said today to someone that asked if more spots were opening, I said, I just genuinely don't feel that it's right. I had 72 people that signed up, and I don't want to potentially diminish the event and the timing to add, we'll say, 18 more people to go to those fivesomes. And I know I've done it in the past. I just feel like it's a thing I want to grow out of and no longer do, especially when we are really fighting daylight on what will be November 30th this year. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me. And it's funny to think of it this way. You add 18 people on that course, where like 56, 58 is a good score. Do some rough math, and you're talking about adding like nearly 2,000 more shots to the day. And it's just kind of funny to think about that way. Like, oh, you want me to add more people? Yeah, that adds 2,000 more throws to the overall day of the tournament. It's just when I put it together that way, I was like, that's kind of a funny way to look at it. So, shout out Ace Run Productions.
Yep.
You guys are great. They say thank you, gentlemen, as always. We will have more next gen coverage out tomorrow and later this week. Stay tuned to their channel. And that does segue perfectly. I had a great time talking with the guys over at Ace Run. They were at the Next Gen event. They have been, as they said, releasing some footage. They worked harder than everybody else that weekend at the Next Gen for media-wise. So thank you guys for busting your tails. But so check out their coverage and action as it comes out. And then they've reached out and wanted to talk about, as we've seen with Disc Golf Nerd, and in the segment that he gives us where you usually reviews a disc or a product, they're talking about coming up with a potential segment that we might see once every 3 weeks, maybe once a month. So I want to say to them, we're very excited and interested in having you guys move forward with that idea. And then this is a call out to anyone else. Maybe you're starting a channel, maybe you run an Instagram, whatever the case might be. If you feel like there's a unique angle or perspective you could take for a segment, and if you're talking that 60 to 90 to 120 second, 1, 2, 3 minutes, we're very interested. I feel like we love to spread the love around, and
we'd love to be the springboard for you to eventually surpass us.
Yeah, and then crush us, and then tell us how much we suck later. No, but in all seriousness, if that is something that you're working on, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunities. There's so many different ways you could take, a media segment right now, some of which we've thought of and just simply won't act on. But there's a lot of different ways you could take it. So please, certainly feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, Disc Golf Nerds, disc reviews, those are safe. We're not going to be, there's no competition there. I think Ace Run is going to maybe go about a different type of format. But all of them are welcome. Reach out to us. We're always welcoming that type of input. So let's talk a little bit about some of the news that we saw over the past week. We haven't really had a good chance to delve into it with some of our guests. Today, we saw announced Chris Clemens signed a 3-year contract with Dynamic Discs.
Mm-hmm.
He is their, arguably right now, would you say he's their premier player on the MPO side?
Well, I'm not going to insult anybody like that. That's a real jerk move on your part. But no, I mean, Chris clearly, not only coming off the performance that he did at the USDGC, clearly being one of the best lefties in the game, clearly showing up with the best hair in the game on the MPO side.
On the MPO side, I'm not sure. Can we say right now? We're gonna go on a little a real quick tangent. Trilogy is more or less dominating the hair game. Bjerkes, Clemens, Nico
now, yep.
I mean, right there, you have 3 probably of the top 4. I mean, you could also obviously Robert, but
yep.
I'm just saying you have
style, but yeah, he's got it.
Ultimately, I'm just throwing it out there. But no, Chris Clemens signs on for a 3-year agreement. Hopefully, if we're lucky, we get Chris on later tonight. We don't know for sure. It all depends on what his schedule look like. But I think that is a great signing for Dynamic Discs. I think it is helping. Not that they need it, but it's helping kind of turn the media cycle from the Paige Pierce news over to the Chris Clemens news.
Yeah, and of course you left out Zach Melton, the other lefty that.
He does have great hair as well.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now, one thing I want to touch on briefly, and we're hoping to hear from Paige sometime in the upcoming weeks. But one thing I want to touch on briefly with regard to the conversation around Paige, and now Chris as well. There was a very distinct clarification that has been made that I don't think was as apparent at the beginning of the day yesterday. When we saw the Paige news drop, there was the talk about her moving on or stepping away or moving away from Dynamic Disc. And then immediately the term contract got talked about quite extensively and what her contract was or a deal or whatever. it has been since then clarified by Paige and by Dynamic Disc that they had really a verbal agreement in terms of her relationship with the company. And whether or not that changes your perspective, I think it's very valuable and something of note. And what's also worth noting, as I followed up with some gentlemen over at DD, I think this is also going to be, catalyst is a strong word, but it's going to be a starting point for seeing maybe a little bit more structured contracts, official pen-to-paper contracts. And I think that's arguably one of the bigger takeaways outside of the news itself. That's one of the biggest takeaways. And that's something you and I, 20 years ago, everybody was on either a handshake or if barely even a handshake agreement with a lot of the sponsors, namely Discraft or Innova, really, 20-some years ago. But that times are a-changing. Mm-hmm. And pen to paper.
Back in the day when it was only, for the most part, Innova and Discraft, a handshake, a verbal agreement was really all you needed, because the odds of you switching sponsors when you're a major player was, I can't say it was unheard of, but it was rare. And now we kind of need to have this formal agreement because of how much bigger our sport is getting, that there is potential for this type of movement. And the way it feels right now at this exact moment is that the players seem to have it. I hate to use the term advantage, but with a handshake or a verbal agreement, it really feels like the players have this. It's an agreement that the manufacturer will cover them, not necessarily that they will stick with a manufacturer. It feels more one way than two way.
Sure.
And I believe when you put a, as you said, put a pen to paper, lay out all the sponsorship information. And this was something Paul had talked about with Discraft and Innova, that when we had come to him with questions like, well, how many discs do you sell? And how many, like, he didn't have that information. I'm not saying he couldn't get it, but he didn't have it readily available. It wasn't something that Innova necessarily provided. And I think these are things that are going to need to be solidified with these new contracts. How many tour disc series do you get? When do you get them? We've talked about certain players that will sell out of a tour disc, like take Nate Sexton, who when they release a Firebird, it's gone in seconds.
Oh, his is a Firebird?
Yeah, I believe it is a Firebird.
Oh.
And nobody knows when they're coming back. Like, I don't even know if Nate necessarily knows when they're coming back. That these are things that are going to have to be addressed by the players, that you're going to have to talk to your manufacturer and say, all right, I'm going to make up a number. I want 200 released in January, 200 in February, 200 in March, and work those deals out, as opposed to just relying on saying, okay, we're going to probably have about 1,000 of them for you this year. We'll get them out when we get them out.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be more. There needs to be more structure to the agreements and between the players and the manufacturers, so it is much more of a mutual agreement. And
I to follow your point, I think structure will help lead to clarity, to continuity, and accountability. I think all of those things then become a result. Again, not things that were of a major concern 20, 25 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, as things got a little bit more serious. Now, when things have gotten so much more competitive from a manufacturing stance, they've gotten more competitive from just a sheer sponsorship and player stance. You have more players to either take a chance on or go after right now. And what is going to set what you're offering apart from the next guy or the next manufacturer? Because now we're starting to see players explore their options. I don't want to say shop around necessarily, but at least explore their options. And all of these manufacturers have a slightly different structure for what they're handling. And then, of course, it's even different within the tiers on the team. I would be willing to, I'm not going to name out any names. There's clearly different tiers that are out there. Now, we can beg to ask the question yet again, are we in media or we as the public, as we grow as a professional sport, are we entitled or owed the details of said contracts as we get bigger and become a more professional entity?
Absolutely not. We are not entitled to them. We are not owed them. It would be obviously advantageous. We've said this in the past. What I would like to know is the length of the contract, preferably.
Okay.
Is it a 2-year? Is it a 4-year? Is it a 6-year? Those are the as much as I am curious, and I would love to be able to lay out every player, their contract, what they're getting, how much they're getting from their Tour Series discs, how many Tour Series discs they're getting, how much extra sponsorship,
their entries getting paid, their
level.
gas getting paid.
I'd love to have a spreadsheet with all that info so
Sure.
you could truly lay it out like, oh, look, so-and-so's getting a better deal than so-and-so, even though this person has been around. That would all be great. We're not owed any of that.
Yeah, outside of a nosy perspective or being in the know.
And again, we've talked about how I think it would be really nice. It would help out players. But we've also talked about how a lot of these players probably know what each other are getting for the most part.
And I feel like I've gotten mixed reactions. I've spoken to a couple of manufacturers recently as to whether or not they want those details of the contracts released. And they have something to gain and something to lose by that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're giving potentially the players a little bit more leverage or a little bit more power if it's out in the open. But at the same time, some have said, well, maybe they'll see this disparity that you find from a top tier to a middle tier to the lowest tier, and that could backfire for a given player depending on what you put value on. And to be clear, we see that there's value put on social media presence, there's value put on your actual performance, there's value put on your extracurriculars in terms of demos and clinics and things of that nature. All of those things carry different weight on different teams. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. We're never comparing apples to apples.
Think about it right now. If you were to sign Nate Sexton to a deal and you look at his performance versus Double G, both on Innova,
Sure.
you would look at it like right now and say, well, Sexton's barely touring because of his family. Double G is on the rise. Look at him. Look how well you would think that that Double G should have a better contract. But you start taking in all the extracurriculars, the Sexton shootouts, the commentary that he does, the big sexy stuff.
He puts up with germ.
He puts up with germ.
God, what's that worth?
Oh, I can't even imagine. Actually, I can. I can completely imagine this. Anyway, you look at that, and that completely changes the structure of your deal. Those are all almost non-tangible type of things that will raise your profile and make you more valuable to a sponsor. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, I think both, getting back to specifically Paige, I think making the clarification that there was not a written contract, it was a handshake or a verbal agreement among them, and what that meant for all of the players. Now, Paige was more or less listed as a 1-year deal when she first came back in 2017. 2018, it was my understanding it was also kind of under that notion, and then at the beginning of 2019, I think is when we saw a post or an announcement of saying, there's a 3-year. I hate to use the word agreement, or implication is almost even a better word now.
It felt like
agreement,
an agreement because DD came out with a fantastic post basically saying we have released Paige from her agreement. Now, whether they had a choice, that's a whole nother ball of wax. That's the one part of this for me that kind of just doesn't sit well, is that just 1 year ago, you kind of made a 3-year agreement.
Sure.
Like, if you were 2 years into your agreement, I can almost, whatever. It just feels like, all right, you had 1 year in. I understand. Maybe your opportunities at wherever your future opportunities are maybe that much more. Maybe Dynamic couldn't match. Maybe they didn't want to match. Maybe we don't.
I'm
know.
not sure that Dynamic actually
or if
had an
if
opportunity
they even
to
had an
match.
opportunity.
Yeah.
If it was even an option, or if she was just like, hey, I'm just not happy.
Yeah, I'm pursuing another avenue.
I think that this is better for me and my career and my future. That's all stuff that's behind the scenes that most people will probably never know. That's stuff that's not really any of our business other than to be gossipy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting
Dynamic. Say it.
Dynamic.
I mean, the word does fit.
I know it does. It's so apt.
Well, we are expected to hear from Paige. I don't know if it's fair to say that Johnny and I do know all of the details, because we do, but we can't share them with anyone. I guess that just sounds jerkish and teasy. But I can say this. The world will hear from Paige sometime soon as to what direction, what things are happening in her life. Of course, she just made the announcement, and now I think she's got a few details to get sorted out. And Eric McCabe made obviously the classiest post, as you would expect, out of anyone ever today. He made a post, him with Paige in a picture, and it said, Paige, I was with you for your first one, and I'll be there with you for your next one. And, it speaks to that family environment atmosphere. At the end of the day, we're all disc golfers. We see each other almost every weekend, and there is a sense of unity and Frisbee family, as I like to hashtag, and togetherness. It's competitive, but yet we all want to see the best in everyone moving forward. So it's certainly crazy, and it's a way that things got shaken up this week for sure, and it really
it rocked the social media world.
It did.
Watching social media just fly by, watching all these pieces. You've got. I guess I do know why, but it's really interesting to me to see the amount of, I hate to just say the word haters or kickback that Dee Dee has, that were celebrating this move. And I think it's just the fact that, as I've said, there's some jealousy out there. There are people who truly just don't enjoy the personalities on Dee Dee's team. And so any chance that they get to kind of get a dig in, they do. And that's when I had said earlier, so I said, well, don't go dancing on any graves yet, because there's more news to come. And then sure enough, the Clemens news dropped. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. So there's so much.
Yeah, and just for the sake of fun, we'll throw it out there. I feel like the two main camps and arguments that I continually see, that I know you're seeing and others, the two main, we'll say, leading storylines are people thinking that Innova is the place where she will find home, or that Discraft is a place that she'll find home. I feel like those are the two main storylines. Of course, there's others, plenty of speculation. Talking about Infinite Disc, could she go to an open bag policy? I think that's a great speculation. We saw Drew Gibson move to that recently, of course. Paige has had a number of sponsors and is obviously familiar with a number of different discs, and clearly she just throws good with her near perfect form. So there's an opportunity there for her where maybe she feels like she could be most profitable and continue to grow and thrive that way. So I feel like those are all, the front runners in what we've been seeing out there, and could be an entirely off the wall crazy shock that comes about as well. So
it certainly could. The other news, we'll move on from that until we get probably more of the information from Paige, hopefully soon. We saw some, as we discussed with Jeff, we saw some media updates this particular week. We saw Jomez get announced for, as we said last week, all the Pro Tour. all the National Tour, and then this week all the Pro Tour.
Yep.
obviously, just announced tonight, we're doing live for the Pro Tour. Do you feel like it's such a hard question?
Ask me the tough ones. I'm ready.
Do you think it's good for our sport to have all of the major events in our sport covered by one team? As great as Jomez is and as wonderful of a job as they're going to do, let me put it out there.
Yeah, no.
Do you feel it's good overall for the sport? Because when it was announced, everybody was really excited about the national tour. Awesome, we got Jomez. That's great. You know, they're going to have these 6 events. That's cool. And then the Pro Tour announcement hit, and I started to see a little bit of kickback. People are like, oh, geez, that's a lot of Jomez. That could be a lot of Big Sexy. That could be what I really enjoy CCDG. I hope we get to see a lot of them. And for better or worse, you know, CCDG is covering, for the NTs at least, covering FPO. FPO isn't quite nearly as watched by most people. So where do you...
Really?
Yeah, I know you know this. Where do you stand on this in general? Do you think it's good? Does it matter? Is it just the internet reading into things?
Well, yeah, and of course, I have to preface it as well by saying that it's not a bias toward or a like or a preference toward any organization, no matter what I say. But I was trying to think of it as you were asking. I was trying to think of an analogy in terms of, and as always, we're not on any of these levels, but if you watched every baseball game of the year or football game or whatever, and it was always broadcast by one channel, ABC Sports, Fox Sports, NBC, whatever. Again, I know they have different commentators and they're all different styles, but I guess does that an analogy where maybe someone would be like, you know what? I'm a huge Brewers fan, you would say, but I would love to see another set of announcers with on Fox Sports as opposed to ESPN this week. Would you ever say that? Would someone ever say that? Because is it the fan? Is it the players that you care about? Is it the production crew that you care about? Is it the tournament itself that you care about? Like, for every one of those questions, I feel like there's such an individual answer. You know, some people will say, I don't care if Jomez is filming paint drying. I am there and watching it. I love it. And some people,
I'd love to see the follow flight on that.
Yes, exactly. Because they have such a high production value, and everybody loves, or so many people love what they're doing. Conversely, could someone be like, yeah, well, we heard it. Well, I don't care what's happening at the USDGC lead card. I'm not watching it because it's not Jomez. I mean, and then you have people, again, it's one of the premier events, but it's not their favorite production crew.
Are you worried at all that it's going to stunt the other media companies? Does that matter? I mean, we've seen the tremendous growth in Jomez's channel going from 100 to 150,000. Next year, when they're arguably probably at close to 200,000.
Oh no, they're gonna be well over it.
Well, let's just say
let's call it 300.
I don't think they're gonna hit 300 by the end of the year. Yeah, we could do something.
By the end of this year?
By the end of 2020.
Yeah.
A full year.
Okay.
Anyway, do you feel at that point that it's almost that people will just look at that and be like, well, obviously we can't not go with Jomez now because they have so many subscribers that it just doesn't make financial sense for anybody else, and that now you've more or less, regardless of how good any other team is, that it just won't make any sense because they have such a lead after this particular year. I mean, because we've seen Central Coast subscriber base grow pretty significantly over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you can probably attest to it when they're covering FPO1 for the entire year.
Their subscription base is not going to grow on the same trajectory.
It's not going to be shooting up like it is with Jomez. So in that aspect, do you see a problem?
Well, I don't want to. Again, this doesn't sound like a victim mentality here in any regard, or a defeatist mentality. But if they continue being Jomez, if they continue to be on all of the best cards for all of the biggest rounds at the biggest events, they're only going to continue their massive momentum and can just blow away everyone. And that's, of course, great for Jomez. That's great for disc golf. Like you're asking, though, is that stifling of anyone else or discouraging of anyone else? Because
and that's where I'm going with stifling of other people. Is it, as someone said, is it bad for disc golf? Because if you're stifling all these other media teams,
where's their incentive?
Where's their incentive to show up? Where's their incentive to be like, oh, okay, cool, I get to, I mean, no offense, but I don't get to cover MPO1, then it's really not worth our time to come out there. It's really, and are you, the only way our sport grows then is if Jomez grows?
Which is putting a lot of eggs in one basket.
Putting a lot of eggs in one basket.
And giving a lot of power.
And I'm fine. Like I said, I'll say this. I completely understand the decision with the national tour. And the pro tour had an RFP.
Sure.
So whatever, and we're not privy to the reasoning behind a lot of that stuff, but clearly they made the best offer for the pro tour.
Yeah, and
I can't even fault anybody for it.
No, like, and that's what I would say.
I can't even say like, oh man, you guys made really bad decisions. They, I didn't like the way the NT came to the decision, but the decision make sense. The pro tour opened up an RFP. They let anybody make a bid for it, and Jomez won out. So fair and square.
Yeah, I can't be more clear on the idea that I feel like if someone works really hard and then they get the benefits and the accolades and the agreements that result in that, I couldn't be more happy about that. I don't know if that's a barrier, a pillar of capitalism or not, but I'm a big fan of that. I do not think that just because some couple people pick up a camera, like, oh, hey, well, you're trying to get into disc golf, let's go throw you on this great premier lead card somewhere, because that's the fair thing to do. I'm personally not a fan of that. So let me be very clear in that everything they've gotten and all of the, again, the accolades and where they are, all makes perfect sense. I think the footnote here, or the byline is, or I'll just throw the MLA, I don't know, I'll throw some other terms, is the fact that if they are the most successful and propped up entity, and it currently is those 3 to 5 to 8 people, you're feeding that machine that, how to say it? It's just stifling. Stifle is the word, and you're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, and let's just play pretend. And I don't think this is going to happen, but I'll say it anyway. ESPN comes along and says to Jomez, hey guys, we know you love fishing. You guys put out amazing videos. We'd like to offer you a $3 million a year contract to do post-production for a major fishing tour. Some bass tour, which I know exists, right? Maybe 3 million's a laughable number. Maybe it's 5 or 10. I don't know. Some crazy number. And they picked up, and they went after that, which no one would blame them for. I don't think. They picked up, and they went after that. What is the reaction for everyone else? And are
well, I think that's a funny thing, because we can fill in. Not us particularly, but the media companies could fill in for that. So I don't, if Jomez got this amazing offer and left, somebody would fill in for that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I don't see a problem there.
Okay. Yeah, it's correct. But then I guess the point is, well, I guess it's a side note.
And this will roll right into my next conversation. But DGN asks, is it better for the sport to have all of our premier events in one place? Make it easier to find.
You mean on YouTube, or by one company, or what do you mean?
By one company,
or one YouTube channel.
That's what he's saying. With one place, that. Hey, guess what? This year, I'm going to Jomez's channel because I know every major event is going to be there. I don't have to think about it. I will subscribe because I know that I'm going to get alerted. I don't have to worry about thinking, gosh,
who's got it this week?
Ledgestone. Is it CCDG that has lead card, or is it
Gatekeeper or Jomez? Or
not that it's extremely difficult to find for anybody, but it does centralize. And so that kind of rolls into my next topic when I say we saw the Steve Dodge put out his opinion piece about the National Tour and the Pro Tour, about how he feels that it wouldn't be, that it could be better for the sport if the National Tour took a break for the Pro Tour, to let the Pro Tour breathe, try to succeed, and it would help out with viewers, it would help out with sponsors, and that there's no confusion, no brand confusion. And I'll tie that together with the Jomez thing, saying, is it good for our sport to have everything under the Pro Tour umbrella that Steve says? Because for a long time, I kind of felt like I'm really on the fence with this, because on one hand I think, cool, let's have one tour, let's have one combined tour that I think would be very good. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I don't know if that's a good idea, because I think that the Pro Tour and the PDGA National Tour really serve two different purposes. Like for the Pro Tour, they need to be solvent. They need to make money so that they can grow and expand, like Jeff said, to 52 weekends. Next year, 52, count it.
Yep, bank on
you
it.
heard it. So that they can continue to expand and grow and grow the sport, but ultimately grow the Pro Tour. The PDGA doesn't care about growing.
Wow.
No,
watch your hyperbole there.
The PDGA doesn't care about growing the National Tour. They want to grow the sport, hands down, and they're using the National Tour as
one of the
vehicles for that. So, does it matter? I mean, do they have an incentive to make it 10 events, 20 events, 30 events? No, they don't, because the more money they put into the National Tour, the more they have to justify that to the 99.9% of the other members of the PDGA.
Yeah, the membership.
Like, how do you justify? Last year, and you can look at the budgets, I believe it was last year, the PDGA spent $365
according to Ray on the board.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're $365,000 for now. Ray, I think that's national tours and majors. I don't think they break it out.
Okay.
So that is for the 6 national tours and 6 majors. Is that about right?
At least.
About something like that, with the Masters, the Juniors, the
Junior World,
whatever.
World.
So we'll say about the 6 to 7 majors. I mean, how would you justify doubling that? So to me, the disc golf, the Professional Disc Golf Association's job is to use the National Tour to pull in sports fans. That's not, I mean, the Pro Tour wants to do that, but that can't be their primary goal. Their primary goal has to be to make sure that they can make it to next year. So I just feel like it might not be in the worst interest, because what would happen if, now again, here's where I tie it into Jonas. Let's say the National Tour backs off. Everything is Pro Tour now. Cool. The PDGA helps out. They, I don't even know if they help out is a good word. They pay for sponsorship. They pay for advertising. They pay for whatever, getting their name on this tour. What happens when the Pro Tour just says, okay, cool, we're going to keep going, but we're putting, like my suggestion, we're putting everything behind a paywall. How does the National Tour now? What happens there? Are they out of luck? Are they like, oh man, we put all our eggs in this basket? You're going to go to a full paywall? That's not what we want.
Yeah, those are decisions clearly that are well beyond our scope,
of course,
or consideration. But maybe that becomes a member benefit.
Putting all your eggs in one basket might not be the best move.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if there's a question there.
No, I know what you're saying.
More so as Steve's opinion piece about stepping back. I see the benefits. I truly do. And I kind of agree with the concept. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm not sure if that's the right move, even in the long run. I don't know.
What I think we'll see is someone like Jeff, who has now taken over the reins of overseeing of course the Pro Tour. And if it gets to a point where the Pro Tour events are I don't want to say somehow, I don't want to belittle anyone, but are somehow become the premier series, and it just becomes a no-brainer for Jeff and the Pro Tour to consume or oversee the national tour, I think that's all to be determined. I think there's a lot of things that need to happen. Of course, like we talked about, sustainability, profitability, all of those types of things. It feels to me as if maybe Steve's piece, in theory, I follow it and I understand it. It feels to me personally, for what I know, it feels just a tad premature. And I think that is maybe the general consensus. Some people don't want it ever to happen, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But some people that might support it also feel like, well, maybe not just yet. Because if it's a tad premature of an idea.
If I was the Pro Tour and I ran it, and that was, and my goal would be to, I know it sounds silly in the way I'm going to put it, but my goal would be to crush the national tour. Not necessarily crush them out of existence, crush them as far as exposure, media, viewers. Like, make yourself so big that either they want to be a part of it, or that they see the advantages of being of just letting you do your thing. I don't think that. I mean, as we said tonight, we have been live for every single Pro Tour event. Is that not true? Or I say this: the Pro Tour has been live for every single Pro Tour event. We missed Waco last year.
Sure. Yep.
Beaver State Fling can't be live, probably ever.
Mm-hmm.
Masters Cup, maybe. Not sure. There are the Hall of Fame, even though it's not an event next year. I know that was never sufficient for live. Is that something that the Pro Tour wants to take on? Like, suddenly you take these events on and you're like, yeah, cool. Our deal is live and post production. You can't be live, so see you later, alligator. That's what they would say too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that would be.
I mean, down in Georgia and
of course
that area.
So I'm just saying that there are problems that will need to be addressed if something like this were to happen, and I don't know. I don't see an advantage to, quote unquote, taking over the Pro Tour the National Tour, or the National Tour stepping back, because as $365,000 a year. What I mean, that is, I can't say that's nothing to the PDGA, but they write that off as a loss leader. Their job is to expand the membership base. And I looked at the numbers from 2008 to 2012 or 2013, I think. The membership went from 12,000 to about 25,000. From 2014 or 13, the year after that, where it was 12,000, it's at 48,000 now over the last 5 years.
You're talking current
membership. So I mean, it went from increasing 12,000 over 5 years to it doubled 24,000 new members. Like, and that is because of the Pro Tour, the Disc Golf World Tour, the media. Like, I mean, it's. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know what to do. I'm so conflicted.
Good thing you're not in charge, because you don't know.
I know what I would do. I don't know what they should do.
Well,
I've said to
my favorite line. You know what you should do.
You know what you should, exactly. I don't know what they should do. I know what I do. I've said it here before. If I was in control of the Pro Tour, I'd put it all behind a paywall. Period. Like, because my job is to be sustainable. And if I can get, I've said the numbers here before. If you do $60 a year, you get 2,000 subscribers. That's $120,000 a year. That is enough to make your media profitable. And unless the companies that are filming for you can make up that money, you are leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
So as a Pro Tour investor, I would be looking at that and going, well, no, there's money right there. And now that's not the only thing they have to look at. They have to look at their brand. They have to look at the future. Like, it's not cut and dry for them. I understand that. The national tour should never go behind a paywall. Ever. And the fact, no.
What if it's to members? To members only.
No.
And then you get a members only jacket, which is what all I want.
That would be cool. I don't think because if you're telling me that the national tour is here to attract members, you're not going to attract any more members by putting it behind a paywall. You're enticing your members that are already there, but I don't believe you're going to gain members by putting it behind a paywall. And now let me say that's for post-production. I think post-production should always be free for the national tour. If you want to do live, put it behind a paywall like the USDGC did, there could be something to that. Whereas, like I said, my idea for the Pro Tour is everything behind the paywall. You want to watch it? You pay for it. Let the PDGA grow the sport. You take advantage of that as the Pro Tour. I don't run it. Thankfully, I don't have Todd Rainwater's money. I don't have Jeff Spring's knowledge. I have one seat right here where it's really easy for me just to spew.
Bro, all you do is touch buttons.
That's true. I just push these buttons right here, and things switch, and you see discs flying. It's amazing.
All right. So after that very lengthy counterpoint discussion, PDGA is hiring.
They are. They're hiring a media person.
A media person? I feel like that
Is this
flows nicely. But yes, they announced today.
Are they? Do you know is it an additional person?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a replacement to anyone that's currently on the team. Of course, we've seen primarily in a media role, we've seen Media Marty Gregoire, and we've then seen more recently added was Steve Hill. Those are our two, from our perspective at least, those are our two media-centric contacts at the PDGA. Now, I'm under the impression that this is in fact an additional person. I do not know that for a fact, though, but that's the impression that I'm under. PDGA media specialist job. It's announced. It was put out here today. It's called just that, a media specialist. Please, if you want to go out and look for it, you can find it posted to the PDGA's front page. Talks about some of the. I mean, I think I should apply.
Well, I mean,
right?
I will say
I've got the NTs free.
Yeah, you do. You're not contracted for any of those. If you cared about making, I think it's $35,000 a year starting, you personally would be a very good fit for that. I don't think, as in your skills, I don't think it'd be a good fit for you personally, because I know what your goals are and what you
yeah, but it talks about writing. I'm
yeah, that's true.
That.
You don't like writing. You're like, can I just blog, bro?
So let me just quickly paraphrase. I'm not going to read every single thing, but it talks about traveling up to 10 events a year, manage, monitor, and respond to social media conversations, comments, and direct messages. You definitely don't want me in charge of that. Not this fireball.
When I think I said this to, I don't know, maybe I said it on the stream even. For Worlds, we put the stream on the Facebook page, the PDGA Facebook page, which means I had management position over the PDGA Facebook. Never. I don't want that ever again. Like, if we end up putting it on there again, I guess I'll take it. But all the messages they got on Facebook were insane. My phone was blowing up constantly, and I don't want to turn off all notifications, but it was like a week of some really stupid questions.
Wow.
People. Some of you people reach out and have the dumbest questions. And some of you have some really good questions. Obviously, I'm sure it's all the smashies with the good ones.
Of course.
But wow, I got to see behind the behind the curtain, and it wasn't pretty.
A few other things: produce accurate, engaging copy and news articles, some of which may be based on provided interview excerpts and scoring information. Okay, I mentioned travel up to 10 events. Provide live coverage of events as needed. So use a phone, probably some form of a gimbal or a stabilizer, and then potentially go live on Facebook. So those are some of the responsibilities. Minimum of 3 years in content and social media management, disc golf experience, which is great. Experience with interviewing, journalistic ethics, story structure, so on and so forth. Brands across platforms, some other things. Ability to work effectively under tight deadlines. Again. So those are some of the things out there. Talks about some desired qualifications in a degree in journalism, communications, or related degree. Proficiency in social media, business-minded, change-striving, resilient spirit. Does that mean you're going to get trolled a lot? Is that...
Yeah, you need to be resilient.
You need to toe the company line because you're going to get trolled a lot? Okay, that's another way to word that. And then it says you will travel up to 25%. Expenses are paid with flexible hours and weekends. So yeah, this is pretty cool.
If you're I look at that and I say, if you're a young person looking to get into kind of social media management and break into it, and you enjoy disc golf, that is a great job for you. Please apply.
Application deadline 1 month from now, essentially December 16th. Projected start date February 24th, which I have to assume is the day before or day of. No, I was going to say is of Vegas, but Vegas not being a national tour, so maybe not though. But it's right around that time frame as that kicks off some of the bigger events of the year. So anyway, it's out there. It's available. It does, I'll admit, it sounds like a dream job for me at one point in my career. Maybe not as much now because of some of the other things I'm trying to tackle, but it does sound like a really fun job. So it's available. Seth Fenley of the Pro Tour says, let's apply jointly as a package deal. We would have all the requirements covered and could split the workload. Yeah, that is very true. Okay, I think we can close things out for the regular show, unless you have other things. I feel like we've touched on all the major topics tonight. Happy belated birthday to Simon. He celebrated a birthday. I think he's over in Germany and doing his workout. The other quick thing I'll give a plug for, not at all actually prompted, but I did see both Eagle and Madison talk about Disc Golf Strong, the programs that they're involved in. I believe if you use the code Eagle or Madison, you can sign up and get 70% off first month of the Disc Golf Strong program that they have out there and available. There might be others, but I did see that. So clearly, and I think Paige made a post as well today. There's a ton of our players that are teaming up with Disc Golf Strong, as they have been for the last few years, and then really taking it serious during our off season. So go out there and check it out. We love us some Disc Golf Strong for sure, Seth Muncy. All right, we're going to close things out for the regular show. I'm going to see if we got any other updates or information that's come in from afar in the meantime before as we head into the after show. But I would like to, of course, thank Keith Murray of the Memorial Championships presented by Discraft. I want to thank him for joining us, giving us the scoops, the deadlines, the updates for what we're going to see for the Memorial, for Shelly Sharp, and for the kickoff of the Disc Golf Pro Tour in 2020. And we, of course, have to thank Jeff Spring.
Thank you, Jeff.
For similarly giving us the updates, the inside scoop, the details to the Silver Series, and all the exciting things that are going to be part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour in 2020, including a couple of smash boxers right here that are going to be involved in helping bring you guys coverage. We're super excited about it. So, for all of our Smashies out there, all of our Patreon subscribers who we love even more, thank you guys for joining us. Again, Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been podcast episode 274. We'll see you guys in the after show when you step inside the Smash Box.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 274 After
Show.
Let you finish that one off. That a boy.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
We are here in the after show. If you don't know already,
There's no holds barred. Anything goes.
almost anything goes. We may hold back just a tiny bit depending on what it is. Yeah, occasionally,
Yeah.
but
So
we're here. We love to read off the chat board. We love to interact with everyone that's coming in from the YouTube chat board. So if you're randomly listening to this as a podcast and you're like, what the heck are they talking about and where are they getting this from? Our number one resource during the after show is random internet surfing and the YouTube chat board. So hopefully that set the stage for you. Welcome to the show.
I didn't correct anybody, which I normally do because lately I've been very vocal on the social medias.
You do not speak for all of Smashbox or me, just so you know.
No, I speak for me. It's really
just making that clear, everyone.
Yeah, it's just this guy right here. I released the Paige Pierce highlight video from Smashbox on, was it yesterday? Was that when she made her announcement?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
Today's
yesterday.
Tuesday, yesterday, Monday.
Yesterday.
Yep, that's how that works.
Oh, fortunate timing.
Yep.
Yeah. And someone put a comment on there like, "Great job, Terry. Appreciate all the work you put in."
You're welcome.
And I'm thinking, it's like, I assembled every clip. I named them. I highlighted them. I went through and made sure they were all that it sounded good, that there was no weird cut off voices if I could help it. And this jerk gets all the credit.
You're welcome.
And I'm thinking, it's like, I know you saw it. I'm sure you did.
Had I not, honestly,
I got a kick out
had
of it.
I not viewed it via mobile, I would have made the clarification and distinction and given full credit. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny V did something. All right. No, I would have certainly given you full credit as I know you have diligently gone through a ton of footage this year and have assembled highlights, lowlights, heartbreaks, all the various clips for different players, and have put those together to release then on our Smashbox page. And yes, in full disclosure, I had absolutely nothing to do with any of those. Johnny V has done the work for them. I certainly appreciate it. I hope you guys appreciate it. But
and I
did chuckle, of course. But to be fair, I frequently travel around the country and around the world.
Yes.
And then people say, "Oh, thanks, that
great job switching." No, nobody says that to you,
no,
you jerk.
People say things like, "Oh, that Samui Swine, that Thailand footage was awesome that you guys put out." I'm like,
I know.
No, there was no Johnny on that.
Terry
he
on
didn't
that.
touch it at any point. So yes, it definitely goes both ways.
Exactly. I 100% agree. And I know that if I had asked, I'm sure you could have assembled something or would have assembled, but you have a lot of other post-production stuff you're taking care of. And this is something that I wanted to do for Smashbox because it is the off season and there's a little bit less for me to do during the off season other than take care of, some of this stuff in general. So that I've got the Paige Pierce one right now is out there. So go ahead and take a look at that. The Paul Macbeth one will be coming out next Monday.
Okay.
And then the week after that is bad breaks and bad shots. So it's a lot of just that, watching
bad shots that lead to bad breaks, or
sometimes both. Yes. Like, oh man, that person hit a tree right in front of him and it kicked deeper in the woods. Like, that's a bad break because of a bad shot. So look for those over the next 3 weeks. I'm going to hopefully assemble even more of them. I need to go through and now find out. It was really easy to pick Paul and Paige because they were on a majority of our
coverage.
Yeah. So those were the two first ones, the obvious ones. Now I need to go through and look at who else was on our coverage a lot. Is Eagle the answer next? Because
James Conrad,
Evan
Jones.
Who can I put together a significant video for? At some point, I'm hoping to have about 5 or 6 or 7 of these. And then once you get down to people who maybe only made one appearance on live, kind of get that down to one video. It might be one longer one that just says a mashup of here's all of the people that didn't
maybe
have
were
enough
just featured
clips.
one card or
Exactly.
one round.
But they had a highlight for some reason. So you can look forward, hopefully, that the coming this off season from Smashbox.
Well, while we're plugging post-produced content, I wanted to say I had a really unique opportunity, and I don't know if I touched on it last week or not, but in the last few days, I released Huck Central, and this was a PDGA A tier that took place down in the South Carolina, and they came at me with an interesting perspective and said, we had a gentleman film it. We had, I believe it was the TD/course designer, do the commentary on it. They covered MPO during rounds 1 and 4. They covered MP40 during round 2 and FPO during round 3, or maybe 2 and 3 were switched. Either way, they diversified their coverage, but they had 4 total rounds of coverage, put commentary on it, and then handed it off to me and said, hey, we have 26 subscribers currently. We're not concerned as much about building our channel. Would you want to put it on your channel for the content? It'll get more views. And I'm just going to say right now, I'm very open to that kind of collaboration.
It's cool.
There's always been a hesitation or not as to, well, what kind of quality is it? How good is it? Will people be confused about what's going on or where it's coming from if I personally maybe didn't film or have anything to do with it? They did a great job. And even if you don't do a great job, I would still love to talk to you about it. I hopefully will be able to provide more views or viewership than someone that has 26 subscribers. I like the idea. And that might sound obvious, like, oh, you're getting content for your channel. Well, not necessarily just that. I like the idea of finding out more about the event, to even team up in having more coverage there. Maybe it's an event I could then also be part of in the future in another capacity, whether it's as a cameraman or as an additional card or whatever. I feel like it starts that conversation. Now, clearly it doesn't work if someone says, well, I'm trying to grow my own channel and I want to get as many views and subscribers as I can, but that might not be the priority of every event.
So everybody start sending just random footage of Terry. Please.
Shoot anything, any form.
Hey, Terry, assemble this for me.
Yeah, no. Again, they assembled it all. They did a great job, and it was great to put it out there. So I hope you guys are enjoying that. I felt like it was perfect. They shot it back in May. They got it edited. And they're like, oh, we just like to have it out sometime, and here we are in a slower part of the year, and I figured it was perfect to release it. They got it to me a few weeks ago. So in addition to that, PCS Open, thank you so much. Eagle McMahon graciously spent hours upon hours of doing remote commentary with me. And then there was even a screw up on my behalf where we had to do 9 of the holes over. So Eagle did all of round 1 front and back, round 3 front and back, which was the next one I filmed, and then the finals. So it was ultimately 5 separate videos. I believe those are going to start releasing. They're already loaded to YouTube. They're doing a special Norwegian premiere for them, though, over in Norway this weekend. So right after they viewed them, it's going to be a full-blown release. 5 rounds. It was a lot of fun. You see Eagle McMahon, Avery Jenkins, and some incredible Norwegian and European players. So look for that PCS Open. And if you're waiting on Nantucket, send your pal Big Germ a message. Let him know Terry's been ready for a couple months on that commentary. Whenever he's ready, Germ, I know you're not watching, but whenever you're ready, we're ready to knock out that commentary.
Sometimes people are hard to track down, man. Let's get into a little bit of the, I don't want to say gossipy stuff, but the funny social media things that we saw today, particularly. So, as you had said, there's a lot of information going back and forth as to where Paige is going to go. The early buzz was
See what you did there.
Was Discraft.
Yep. But then she rocked it out with a
She'd be the real MVP of that team.
Yes. Yeah.
She wants to look out for her legacy. Come on, we can keep doing this, can't we?
Her infinite legacy.
I mean, she was a young prodigy.
Yeah.
And then there was a screenshot that showed up.
Yeah.
That had Innova with a picture of that said, I believe, the FPO, the future of FPO. And you could see a screen that was clearly Paige Pierce. Faded.
Like a thumbnail screen image.
It was a thumbnail with it that, like, had some words over it.
Yep.
Particularly.
Yep.
And so everybody took that as Innova let the cat out of the bag. And I'm here to say, I think that's
don't spoil it.
I think it's fake. I'm fairly certain.
Fake news.
It's either fake news, photoshopped, or my initial thought, because if you go out, there's a lot of sleuths out there that are like, oh, it's weird that it's the exact same amount of time as the video underneath of it. It would not be tough to easily put something like that together, whatever. But if that video is real, I am under the impression that that particular screen that was grabbed, that was not a standard thumbnail from Innova's page. It looked like it was something that YouTube just grabbed and made. And I think that might be an announcement for Henna. That we don't know where Henna, I don't know where Henna's going, but a lot of people are saying Innova, and that to me makes more sense of the future of FPO. The question, to me, I think it's all a Photoshop, but if you were to say something like, oh no, Henna's the future of FPO, Paige is the now of FPO, and maybe that video went through and showed it a bunch of different FPL players, and it just happened to snag that one. But honestly, I think it's a Photoshop. The fact that there was only one view on it before it was pulled makes no sense, because if anyone that subscribed to the Innova page, when that got put up, they should have got alerted, and they might have had a chance to view it.
You're really getting in there, Johnny.
Just saying, there's a lot of, if you want to dig into the conspiracy, there's a lot there.
I don't know if I'm real keen on your clues here.
I'm not saying Paige isn't going to Innova. I'm not saying she is. I'm saying that particular clue, I don't think it holds water. Just saying. I mean, you can do your own detective work.
There are plenty of detectives going on out there. Also asking the tough questions. Someone had said, do we have to now refer to our 2018 world champion as Paige Shue?
Yes. That's what she wants to be referred as. She was on the Disc Golf Answer Man today, which is like this little internet show they do.
And really?
And they and she's on there as Paige Shue, which is really difficult to say, I think.
Paige Shue.
Yeah, it just it just doesn't have.
Say it with me, folks. Paige Shue.
Paige Shue.
Say it.
Paige Shue.
Say it 10 times fast at home,
it's
everyone.
Hard.
Paige Shue.
It's hard to say.
If you say it fast, it is. But Paige Shue. Paige Shue. Paige Shue. Paige Shue.
It's real easy as he messes it up.
Yeah, Paige Shue.
It just does. I love Bjerkes. Paige Bjerkes.
Which is a name. I hope I'm not giving this away too much. I think at one time she told me she's not a fan.
No, I understand.
She
because
told me that.
Well, I think it's because the last letters are AAS.
Yeah, and
a lot of times it's,
I can imagine the ridicule and the picking on she got as a kid. Sure,
I can understand how it would be difficult and could be picked on, but as far as recognition, I feel like she made it, and I understand her decisions. She wants to go fully Shue. It's hard to say. It's hard for me to mentally do it, and then it's also not as easily rolled off the tongue once you know how to pronounce her old last name as Shue versus Bjerkes. So I don't know, but we should be calling her Paige Shue.
All right. I'm going to give a quick shout out. Ramo says, I love how long this podcast is. I went to a movie with my wife. I said no at first, and she said, they'll still be on. Sure enough, LOL, wife was right.
She is a very smart woman.
She is. I'm glad she's here to step inside the Smashbox. So hello.
What movie did you go see?
Yeah, those are the burning questions.
That's what everyone wants to know. Terry pretending like he's not going to mess up her name on live commentary.
I guarantee you I will. And I more so, the question is, what will I mess up more? Paige Shue or calling her Paige Bjerkes? What is more likely for me to do?
I think you're more likely you're going to call her Bjerkes.
Yeah. Okay.
But you will stumble over Paige Shue a few times.
You'll have to tune in and find out how many times I'm going to screw that up.
Right. Every morning, 9 a.m., FBO coverage.
Yeah. All right. On the internets, what else did we see out there? Was this? Yeah, this was. We don't usually get too far into other sports, but it was a pretty crazy week. What was it? Thursday night when that football game took place with those Steeler peoples and the Bengals, with somebody getting whacked in the head with a helmet.
Yes.
We need some of that in disc golf. What would you get? Maybe here's the follow up to that. What is someone most likely, outside of an errant disc, probably, what is the most likely tool to whack someone else in the head with in disc golf, intentionally?
Other than a disc?
Other than a disc.
It would be, I believe, like a water.
Ooh, okay. I thought a trifold chair
That would be
or stool.
That would be good. I don't see a lot of people with those, a lot of pros with those trifold chairs anymore.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like
like the big insulated water bottle.
Yeah, the big insulated water bottle. I mean, you want maximum damage. That's what you go for.
Proactive Sport Disc. You should get on top of that.
I want to see a commercial.
Call it the club. Don't like who you're playing with? Bam. Okay. So that umbrella.
Yeah. I don't feel like you can do much damage with an umbrella.
Outside of the obvious stabbing.
Stabbing, of course. Like if you're talking hitting, the umbrella's just going to break more than likely. Okay. But yes, you're right. Umbrella would probably be a number 2 weapon in disc golf.
How about a full-blown hammer, pound, or toss of a bag, of a full bag? Like you take your...
I could see that.
But the problem is
that's a lot of time to get momentum, and the way these bags are, it would probably just get tangled up. It doesn't seem like it's a weapon of choice.
Okay. I'd love to know out there.
I mean, if you're really talking, it's probably going to, it would be, I think, a water bottle or maybe a log that you pick up on the course.
Okay. I
could see
thinking
something
specifically.
Like that. But if you're talking
equipment you have,
disc golf equipment on you at all times, probably that.
Yeah, probably not a Zuka cart. I'm guessing. I mean, if you can get to someone and then injure them on the head with a Zuka cart, I gotta say they had it coming at that point because they should be more alert. If somebody has the time,
get them down and run them over with your Zuka cart.
Yeah. So okay.
Oh, that's a good one. Like the quick stick. Or disc retrievers.
Oh, sure.
That could be a good one, yeah.
Quick stick, I think you've got a new marketing campaign.
We're here. I mean,
this is a total selfish plug side note and something that will... I've got a fresh new order, and I think I underestimated the exact value of a brand new, relatively large size, fresh order of West Side discs with the Finnish stamps, not the American stamps or the English stamps that they typically put on. So this will be a giveaway here tonight, but I know some of you may have seen like my Instagram story. I stocked up on quite a few Finnish stamps straight from
really
Finland.
Popular because of the Finnish stamp?
I underestimated just how popular they were because I put up a couple of harps that I have. I have a lot of, we'll say, matching orangish, fleshy colored harps. And I just put up 2 of them and showed them to people with the Finnish stamp. And I had a lot of people reach out to me. Ooh. And so I've got a number of drivers. I don't even remember exactly everything that I got my hands on. But I did get a number of discs, including the harps. So those are...
the Tietada?
Oh, I wasn't going to be silly enough and try and actually pronounce it.
I just want to know what is the American equivalent, people. Anyone know?
I'm sure they know. And I was going to try and quickly confirm what I thought it was.
Well, it's a 13 speed, so that narrows it down.
Oh, we should play this game. Guess by. This is Nico's favorite new disc. Just kidding, I don't know that. But we're going to say that it is, because we're going to give this one away tonight.
Oh, thanks. I should have...
Yeah, by looking at it.
Could have guessed that.
So, yes, a number of... I got quite a... I don't know. Yeah, I'd say quite a few molds. These will be available for outright purchase, and then for at least a few weeks, we're going to have a number of these that we'll be giving away as well, including tonight, right here tonight for our Patreon subscribers.
Can you do me a favor?
No, probably not.
Hold this disc. Show me your turbo putt. Tyler Brickley.
Oh, geez.
There's a
It depends how close, because I was turbo putting in Croatia to maybe win a game of horse or two, and I had to actually show 2 variations of turbo putts.
Okay, show me your variations of turbo putts.
The 2 main variations that I've always been familiar with, and this is going to be tough for my camera,
it's hard.
is to put all of the fingers
Yep.
outside of the rim, as you're seeing here, and holding it like that.
How I traditionally do it as well.
That is what many would consider one way to turbo putt. The other major variation, if you're keeping the disc upright like this, is to put your 2 fingers tucked underneath the rim like that, okay? The other one that you may see
this particular way to do it, I feel, is maybe better if it's windy, because you have a much more secure grip on it.
Okay, and then the one final slight variation to all of that is you may see some people holding it upside down like this, and then at that point you'll also then have all of your fingers on the outside, but having an upside down version of it as well.
So do your rock-on grip.
Yeah,
now take those inside knuckles, pull them out, so it's these knuckles that are in there.
Ugh.
That's how the discussion. That's how Brickley was doing it, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, that's not how." But apparently, that's relatively popular. Or one finger only in, and like do a 3-finger one of the other.
Okay, I guess I could see that.
Yeah. I could see that as well, but
wow. All right, so for all our audio viewers, I am holding up a disc to the camera showing a few different variations, of
a turbo putt. So there was discussion on his channel about that particular turbo putt, because he didn't have a guest. I mean, come on.
I feel like
guest on a podcast?
there is literally one and only one opinion that truly matters, and that would be Johnny McRae. So whatever Johnny does, that's what the rest of the world should do. And I don't know
100% agree
for sure long versus short range what he does. I know I've seen the upside down, but whatever Johnny McRae does, that is the answer. Okay, do that. I see Big Putt Bill's just getting caught up on the discussion board because he just chimed in with the word stool. I think he's talking about what. Hopefully he's talking about
attack weapons.
The attack weapon we talked about a few moments ago. So, other things in the news, in any signings or re-signings or surprises.
Adam Hammis got promoted.
We saw that today. Team Discraft.
He's on the elite team now. He's up in that top tier with the other Discraft players, filling in one of those boxes that we weren't quite sure of.
Okay.
Napier, someone said, was Dutch.
Dutch. I'm just going to assume he has confirmed or recommitted with Prodigy Discs. Or okay. I apologize. He's talking about
for turbo putts.
Yes.
Dutch is a good person as well. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Dutch is very good at the turbo putts from my recall.
Speaking of Prodigy, and just for a moment, I will dip into the rumor mill.
Ooh. Take a dip, get nice and wet, like sink in there, Terry.
I am only repeating what I've seen and heard out there. Even on our chat board, I think early on in the night, it was questioned or stated that someone had asked if we are going to see or have seen or will see Katrina Allen return as a Prodigy member or not. Some have stated, and I know this is in a number of places on the internet, so I'm not just making this up. Some have stated that they don't see a re-signing, or it's either whether let go or amicably left or whatever the case. Again, I almost hate to even bring it up because I truly don't know. But that is a rumor that has carried a little momentum, I think is a good way to put it. So at that point, I think it's worth mentioning. I truly cannot speak to it one way or another.
She is selling, not that she's like liquidating, but I do see her selling Prodigy discs online on occasion.
And I think she always has.
She always has. Some of those are her own signature discs, and I think there are just some of them are other discs. I don't necessarily think that is an indication. Like I said, it's not like she's liquidating entire boxes. They are individual sales. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
And again, if she left, where would she end up? And she's the type of player I think that could go to like an Infinite Discs. She would be a good first FPO sponsor, along with like a Drew and a Dave. I could see her really fitting in there, possibly. But again, this is all speculation.
Yeah, it is from that perspective. I'm taking a look, actually. She is currently listed here still on the Prodigy website, so take that for what you will as I'm scrolling down. One note, I saw her post to Facebook. I'm thinking of Prodigy at the moment. Mandy Sharp, I believe, said that she has pulled back from being sponsored by Prodigy, and really her reasoning that if I recall, she just posted that she's not really playing much. She appreciates the support Prodigy has given her, but she doesn't feel like she's a contributing member.
She's pursuing
as an
like
avid disc golfer.
a career of some sort.
Yeah, one of those things. Yeah, she is in the medical field. I apologize, but I think it's nursing or somewhere in that neighborhood, if I recall. So, but she has just said she is, withdrawing herself from the Prodigy team. Again, she hasn't been very active in terms of being on the tournament scene. So I always feel like that's a stand-up move by anyone that really just doesn't feel like, if they don't feel like they're an impactful team member, and sometimes it could be for injury, and I think that's handled it a little differently, but if someone just genuinely feels like, hey, I don't think I'm providing value to a team, then maybe I should excuse myself or withdraw from it. And you would think with a stand-up approach like that, when she comes back to being a very active player, hopefully they would then considering welcoming her back. So
Ramos says this offseason seems to be as big as last year. I'm calling Paige to Innova, Cat to Discraft with Austin. Possibly. I mean, I can't shoot anything down. I would say, I mean, again, I'm gonna stick my toe into this, not so much the rumor, but the gossip stuff. Cat to Discraft might be a little bit more difficult with Yuli there. I don't know their relationship anymore. And Yuli being a team,
they were once married.
Oh, I know they were. Yuli being the team manager.
I don't know how out of the loop you are.
I don't know how that would go over. Maybe it's fine, and maybe they're totally cool like that. Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So, but I put less weight in that one.
I got plenty of weight to throw around.
So do I.
Nico, of course, we've already talked about him pretty extensively. There were people on the board talking a little earlier tonight that they really enjoyed Nico's interview. I think he might have been on the call with Robert McCall, is what somebody had mentioned.
He was on the Ultra World podcast as well.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was one of those.
He's
someone
on
had
both.
said that he had done a really great interview. So go out and take a listen to those. And had it lined up a little better. Again, I think he was entertaining family last week. We would have had him on almost immediately following the news, and it just didn't work out for us to have him on Tuesday night. And I don't want to say we're one-dimensional in that sense, but yeah, to have him 6 days after his announcement, after everyone has talked to him, may or may not be overkill. But I'm sure we'll talk with him at some point for sure this year.
Oh, yeah, Nico went hard on Ultra World. I'll say this. We've had Nico on the show. He is always, like, someone says he went hard. No, that's Nico. That's not Nico going hard.
Hard in what way? Did you listen?
I listened to bits and pieces. He was just Nico. He was super excited and really passionate and just has all these great ideas. And he was Nico. And,
okay.
And he was really upbeat and positive and excited for next year and all that stuff. And
as he should be.
As he should be. And I'm glad. Not everybody. I saw a lot of people be like, yeah, that's great. I'm a big fan of Nico now and this and that. And I'm like, and all I think is, oh, maybe that person hasn't been around a lot, because that is always Nico.
He's never short of enthusiasm.
He's never short of enthusiasm. And it's funny because during the season, we've all seen Nico's mood swings, but you get him into the off season and he has all these plans. He has all this passion. And I can't phrase it any more than he is just Nico. It's really funny to me.
It's good to see a fire still burning quite heavily within. That's for sure.
Oh, Disc Golf Nerd says he was far more reserved with Robert. Okay, well that's cool. Which is, I think that is the outlier, being more laid back and reserved in a media format. Because almost every time I've talked to him or seen him, he is energetic, excited, vibrant, and just raring to go.
Yeah, Ramos says, definitely recommend listening to the Ultra World interview. Okay. Well, it sounds like he's been making his rounds. Now, I don't know how much of it's public, so I'll throw out some speculations.
It's the rumor mill night.
No, what I will say is, in talking to some team people, managers, and sorts, going back to the idea of contracts, negotiations, salaries, stipends, expenses, all of those types of things. One thing that I think we're going to see a little bit more of moving forward are signing bonuses. And I believe Nico received one, as I was just thinking about Nico. I believe he received one. Now, again, how much of those are public? Who's to know them? Is it for that to eventually become public knowledge or not? But I think a signing bonus is yet another professional concept that we're seeing infiltrate or become part of disc golf as well. I just think it's yet another interesting proposition, because it was really Prodigy back in 2013 that had this notion of paying players a monthly salary of sorts, and
giving them equity in the company.
Yeah, and that really set a protocol, or it got the ball in motion. Now, not saying everyone's adopted that, of course, but that's certainly one way that we've seen these contracts move forward. And
you know how hard it was for me not to make an adopted joke for you right there?
Yes, good job.
No problem. I'm just saying, like, that's props to me here.
Someone else on the board, speaking of Trilogy and a Smashy in Jordan Castro, no news or updates from him, but I have seen him be, I'll say, a little bit more active on social media. He's always been a very active liker. He's one of the quickest likers out there on the planet. He probably just liked my comment just now, but we have seen him a little bit more active, and maybe that might be part of a goal or a mission for himself, is to put yourself out there a little bit more and find ways to be involved. That's not just how you're performing on the course. Something I meant to touch on way earlier tonight. Call it late in the show, and I'm sure I'll say it again very soon. I'm not Jim Cramer over at Mad Money, but I wish I had a soundboard and a button and a buzzer. Can I just officially declare a big, fat, massive bust on the DGI group?
I think we declared that.
Until they prove otherwise, that's my personal opinion. If somebody wants to come forward and correct me, please do.
The only thing
Until then, I'm calling bust.
I don't know how much influence they had with Paul's contract. But I was going to say, can you kind of put DGI into there as well? Will Schustrick's company?
No.
You don't think so?
No. I see stuff from him. I see him post.
Good. I don't follow it, but I haven't heard anything on social media about it. So good. And then I am really glad that
I do not. I would not in any way liken those. I don't know if I've seen. I'm trying to Google them right now.
The DGI group.
Yeah, is this officially them? Okay, we represent athletes, so I'm on their page right now.
Their blog. That's where you can tell. What was the last blog update?
Congratulations, Paul Macbeth. Well, that wasn't even by him. That's NetPoser. Who?
That's 1 year.
The poster?
1 year ago. Yeah, that's probably the name of whoever.
Yeah, but I recognize that name. So is he the guy behind all of the other posts I see everywhere else?
Maybe.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and say bust. I see August 13, 2018. I see November 19th, literally a year ago to the day. I see a message about Paul Macbeth and maybe a Jomez making moves video. Tournaments isn't capitalized in the front page. I'm not a big fan of that. Nothing else. Bust.
Yeah, I'm safe with that. I think
they don't represent us, do they?
No.
Okay. Bust.
Not you. Not represent me.
Bust. I will be blunt, maybe a little bit rude.
It didn't work out.
And I get it. There's going to be plenty of people. Christy, I know you love to immediately not always be on the forefront of the rainbows of enthusiasm and positivity. I know you might kind
That's a
of
very good way to put that.
dig in there for the glass broken, not half empty or half full type, and I can respect all of that. I know that, and I understand you said you declared that as soon as they announced it. I understandably reserved some of my feelings and emotions for it. I didn't have a lot of faith in it either. I
had a lot of hope, not a lot of faith.
Yeah. But now, here we are, 1 or 2 years later, whatever it is, by their website, by their lack of communication, and by any known developments and progress, I think it's fair for me to officially call bust here.
And Ray says he hopes that no players gave them any money. I don't believe they did. I think they were paid upon, I believe that was the whole deal, was that they were paid upon getting the sponsorship deals for the players, and then they would probably take a cut. But ultimately, I don't believe I have not heard that anyone's out of any money. So
I would go as far as saying I will admit to being largely ignorant of any other details, but all the writing is currently on the wall that, as always, I would then say
I applaud their effort. If they had,
of course.
You know, I mean,
if there was one effort that got past the first week, I absolutely applaud it as well. It's a stepping stone. It's a concept. You know, we can all learn and grow and learn from failure. But unfortunately, I'm gonna call that a bust. And I've spoken to two.
Very spoken.
Yeah, I have spoken to two or three players.
For all you Mandalorian fans.
That's where I derive my conclusion is from a few players backing up my thoughts. All right, I just got a hot link sent to me. That sounds dirtier than it really is. And I'm glad he did so. Once this pops up, I can officially give it the justice it deserves. I saw it cross my Facebook feed yesterday, but I appreciate these live updates on the spot. Come on now. What's going on with your internet, Johnny?
I don't know. It's like, there we go. Seems like it's better suddenly. We're still streaming, so.
Well, I'm not. All right, I'm really waiting for this little note to pop up so that I can read you guys some details.
My website comes up just fine. So there. It's clearly your problem.
Luke Turnbull from Australia says, a year ago today, Terry and Johnny Rumble landed in Australia. Went to kick off one of the most amazing trips of my life. Absolutely. Hot link, you are dating yourself. I wasn't going with trying to make a pull there on anything else other than just calling it a hot link. Believe it or not, that wasn't a reference. I wasn't attempting a reference.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to wait for Facebook to apparently catch up. This is really frustrating.
It's probably a virus. Someone sent you.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, great, he sent me something, and then it's just a virus. That is really, really frustrating.
I'm updating our Patreon supporters at this moment.
Okay, so Johnny's going to continue to do that. As we mentioned earlier, we'll be giving away a sorcerer tonight. Oh, yeah. That's a pretty face. All right, well, that's not going to work. It's just super frustrating and annoying. I don't know if we have any other hot news or information out there.
Is there anything we should be addressing? Anything we...
Addressing? Redressing? Undressing? A good friend of ours.
Speaking of undressing.
Yep. A good friend of ours, Tom Big Daddy Jenkins, underwent a surgery last week. Everything was successful. He had his knee replaced. And tomorrow morning, I'll be taking him. It's crazy that he told us that he had his entire knee replaced. And I think it was either that day or the next day, they had him on a bike doing stuff to start the rehab. I thought that was just incredible. And he's old.
He's old.
He doesn't even know what the internet is. He'll never hear this, I hope. He's old.
We did see some news outside of the sport. I just got a text message from Steve Dodge.
Uh-oh.
No, he's fine. It's good. The Ben Askren retired from the UFC.
Yes.
So we might maybe, not saying for sure, but we might see him on the disc golf course a little more frequently, as it's one of his other passions. But he is officially retired from the UFC.
Yeah, and I also, along with that headline, talked a little bit about him getting a hip surgery or replacement. Did you see that? I'll be the first to admit I did not actually click on any of the links. I kept seeing the headlines, but also in addition to that, there was a conversation I think about a hip replacement. I feel like that's what I saw. So if that's the case, yeah, it may be a little bit before we see him out there actively throwing discs around, but he does have a course in his backyard. So yeah, hip replacement. Okay.
Steve said he 100% agrees with me with my take.
Oh, great.
That means it's doomed for failure. No, I'm just teasing, Steve. Oh, no, I need to change my opinion. No, that's good.
Disc Golf Nerd asks, as we'll read a few questions, do you think all the course elements will be the same for the Disc Golf Pro Tour? Raised baskets, sponsor sign walls, basket standards. I don't think you're gonna see any changes in the actual baskets that are approved as Disc Golf Pro Tour baskets. I don't think that's gonna change.
Are we gonna see raised baskets again?
I think you will see raised baskets again. Question of how many? 1 or 2 per round, or 2 or 3 per round. I think 2 per round is more than likely the max that you'll see, but that's just a speculation on my end. So I think we will see that. I think you're going to see OB walls, or I hate to call them OB walls, just walls. I think you're going to see those again. Should be out there. We'll probably see tents out there. We'll probably see tabletops. And we'll also probably see some feather banners. I feel like those are an easy way to go. And then I think the placards.
The flanners?
The flanners? Is that what they're feather banners?
That's what Nate and Val called them on the thing. I think they called them flanners. And I was funny because I never heard that term. I'd never heard you call them that. You always referred to them as feather banners.
But the whole world does.
But they refer
now
to them
as
Google flanners. Like, oh, look at the flanners blowing this particular way.
I mean, it could be, I guess, like any other words they made up, but I don't know if that's an official reference to those. I don't think that's an officially accepted reference to those. Now, if they endearingly called those them or adopted that name, great. But I've never heard that. Keen walls, no clown's mouths. I don't think we had anything that resembled that. Mozzarella sticks. I don't think we on the at least on our coverage of the Pro Tour, I don't recall anything that also resembled those. Are the 8 holes going to get nailed with a disc or 2 next MVP Open? Are the 8 holes? I don't know what that means. Seth from the Pro Tour says
the 8 holes, the group that hangs out behind hole 8 at MVP.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yes, thank you. I wasn't putting that together. Yeah, they'll probably somebody's going to get hit. I can all but guarantee that, because they might have a crowd of 60 or 100, really enjoying themselves.
It's going to grow,
but somebody is going to be having a beverage and a conversation with someone, and it's going to be coming right at them, and it's going to be look out, and they're 100% locked into the conversation, and they're going to still get hit. I think that will happen.
Seth Fenley says, yes, on the raised baskets and sponsor sign walls. There'll also be a few new elements that Miles from Paragon is working on as well.
Okay, I like it. Yes, because Christy said they also say skizzle, which I think is officially a.
I get skizzle, like that's a made up word. You know, it's kind of like it's probably more along the lines of shul, where. Sure. But the way here, Nate usually makes up the words. Val is usually.
Does Val give him the look as to acceptable or not? Does she?
I won't say that I haven't seen her roll her eyes at him. I get to see them all the time. You guys only see them when I put them on screen. There's some funny stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but when they said flanners, I just was like, oh, that must be a term that like it might be something I don't know. So it could work. I mean, I like it. I'm good with flanners.
I don't see that picking up.
I don't necessarily think it will, but now
I'm not going with it.
Now, if I say it, you know what I'm talking about.
All right, so here's what I want to make a quick mention of. And you've seen his photographs, you've seen his son play, and you've seen his daughter-in-law play. Bob Carey had made a post yesterday, and I did see this briefly, where he says, "Proud of my son AJ and his wife Deanne Carey, who were awarded the American Red Cross Life-Saving Awards today for their actions in January to save me after I suffered a cardiac arrest at home while working on their van they travel in as professional disc golfers." So I did see that yesterday. There's an article and some pictures out there. But Bob, of course, we're all glad that everything's okay and that you're good. And, his son AJ and his wife, AJ's newlywed-ish wife, Deanne Carey, all featured. So. And then Bob has a video out there where he talks about the importance of knowing CPR. So please check that out. In fact, I think I'm going to link to that on for anyone that's watching along right now. There it is.
Let's give something.
Let's do
specifically this away.
Yep.
Sorcerer. Give me a number, Ter. You know the deal.
Ooh. Good number. A great number. I mean, Chris Clemens signed a 3-year agreement? 3?
That sounds wonderful. So now we're going to pick the third number off random.org. If you want to be eligible for this particular drawing, you can't be. But the next one is all yours. All you need to go to is patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV, and you can be eligible for the weekly Patreon giveaways. You can also go to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaway. Weekly giveaways, something like that, and sign up, and I'll put your name in there. We have 201 entrants in this particular one, and we're going to do the third. Let me bring this up. So the first number is 192. The second number is 52. The third number is 183.
How are they sorted tonight, Johnny?
Just by first name, Ted Tracy. Congratulations, Ted Tracy. I didn't have to scroll at all because I was already at the bottom. 183, Ted Tracy from Sherwood, Oregon.
All right, Ted.
Thank you, Ted.
And a quick update to that. Enzo from a few weeks ago had one. Of course, I was doing some traveling, and then he graciously said, "Hey, I live in Germany. If this costs like a crazy amount," I think he won a disc member box at one point. He said, "If it costs a crazy amount, I'll be glad to chip in for it." And guess what, Enzo? We're going to cover that entire $23 of shipping to send that box over to you.
Shipping.
We're glad to do so. Thank you. It does not make financial sense for us, but we don't care because we do appreciate every one of you.
All our Smashies.
I think do we appreciate our international Smashies more? Patreon international Smashies?
What is the conversion rate
Yeah,
on
I was just going to say, is the dollar weak right now? Is it really a big deal for them?
Your love fluctuates. Let me just tell you that.
Another kind of side note to last night, I had a really interesting experience in that it's not so crazy that I was up late. At one point, it was 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I was doing a number of things, working on some footage, and just catching up with people and making plans, most importantly. I know I kind of made a post about it on Friday about how my schedule is trying to get locked in for post-production and whatnot for next year. And at one point, without being intentional, at one point I had realized within a half-hour span, I had chatted with, in some regard, disc golfers in 7 different countries. And most of them have become newer friendships in the last year with the amount of countries I had traveled to. Every one of them I love and appreciate so much, but it was somewhat surreal, I got to say, at 4 a.m. to realize that I had communication with all of these different either movers or shakers or players or contacts, and it was awesome. So I'm excited about 2020 for all the reasons we just talked about with Jeff, and also from a post-production or video blog standpoint. Things are very exciting, so looking forward to it. All right, Johnny, I don't know, unless the board's got anything hot, I think we can start to wrap things up.
Let's wrap it up.
Nope. Reading through all these notes. Nope. Looks like everything's pretty much in the mix. I will promise you this. With regards.
A promise. That's what
this is a promise. With regards to our 5-time women's world champion, specifically Paige Pierce.
How's it say, Juliana?
Named Paige Pierce. She has said that she's excited to talk to us and to provide some answers and whatever when her announcement does unfold. So SmashBoxx has of course, we support the manufacturers, we support the players, we support the tours, we do everything that we can hopefully in the most positive light that we can, and we'll be excited to talk to Paige when she's ready for that conversation. So look forward to that, please. There's a legitimate surprise or two up our sleeves with that. All right, guys, appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we love when you guys tune in live with us. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please give us a rating there, a thumbs up, share, subscribe, do all those silly things, and let other people know that you are listening to the longest disc golf podcast that comes out on a weekly basis. Can we just go with that? Not the best, not the most insightful, just the longest.
We usually have the most guests too.
Okay. I'll take that. Yeah, that's why we go so long. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, this has been podcast after show number 274. Love and appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday night when you step inside the SmashBoxx.